Chapter 26. Late at night, inside the airship cabin, Leo sat cross-legged in meditation, eyes closed. His Nen training continued, and he felt his energy subtly growing. Suddenly, at midnight, Leo opened his eyes with joy. It's finally past midnight. Once it hit 0 o'clock, he could use 3 major Nen techniques without consuming any energy, a rare system boon. Though one day his Nen pool would naturally grow, early on this gift was invaluable. He checked his system panel. Host, Leo. Age, 26. Total Nen, 1952. Nen nature, special. Nen abilities, Knight does not die barehanded, 1000, Shinra Tensei, 500. Seeing his Nen nearing 2000 lit a spark of hope. Yesterday it was only 1580, no wonder it jumped so fast. That fight with Hisoka must have pushed my mental growth. Nen is often tied to spiritual energy. Dire life or death conflicts can massively awaken one's Nen. Though short, his guarding battle with Hisoka at the tunnel had triggered an awakening. If danger pushes us, then under greater threat, if I nearly die, my Nen should rise even more. Still, Leo shook his head, such extreme risk was unnecessary. He preferred steady growth. The system's annual boosts would get him there without risking his life. He began his quiet Nen practice, setting a target, break 2000 Nen today and gain another free technique. Elsewhere on the airship, Gon and Killua were gleefully wrestling for command of Netero's orb. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't grab it. Netero toyed with them, dodging every move. The old man watched them with deep interest. Excellent explosive power. Sharp senses. Cute, but focused when serious. He's not Nen reliant, but his potential is obvious. Gon truly lives up to his lineage. Ducking a playful attack, Netero turned to Killua. Killua, Zoldic's greatest young assassin, 12 years old, yet carrying a killer's precision. If you struck unseen, you'd fell senior Nen users in an instant. Netero sighed in awe. While he sparred with them, he monitored Leo's Nen from afar, noticeably stable, but not surging. He shook his head to himself. Has Leo no fighting spirit? I once was the world's fastest, surely he wants to test himself against me. Or am I just old and overlooked? He chuckled and continued to tease Gon and Killua, content to work with them, even if Leo resisted sparring for now. Leo needed his technique unused for the exam. The ship grew quiet. Even Hisoka, known for stirring mischief, remained still in his room, the knight's prayers building a tall card tower and a dark smile. Morning broke bright. Leo woke promptly at 7, dressed, and headed for breakfast. He found Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio at a buffet table. While Leo and Kurapika ate simply, milk and fried egg noodles, Gon, Killua, and Leorio piled plates high. Leo laughed. Won't you panic in the next test? Eating like that? Kurapika agreed, but the trio just shrugged. Don't worry. My digestion's amazing, Gon declared. Me too, Killua added. Leorio, glancing at their plates, sighed. Don't you two know what the next test is? That's a lot of food. Don't you sleep in? They teased. Leorio looked crestfallen. I thought you slept badly and learned the test prep. Great. Now I just feel sick. They joked until a voice announced. Testers, the airship is landing. Please head to the exit. The 70 finalists grabbed their gear. As they stepped off, they gasped, below stretched nothing but the sky. They stood on a floating platform hundreds of meters high, no railing, no ground. Here was the start of Test 3, Trap Tower. Hisoka stood about 10 meters from Leo. Leo gave him a slight, confident grin. Feel the range of Shinra Tensei? That's just a teaser. If we truly battle, you'll be terrified. The green bean man read the test instructions. Welcome to the trap tower. Inside, an examiner will test you. Your sole task, descend to the ground alive within 72 hours. Good luck. They swallowed hard. And began. Chapter 27. Watching the airship fade into the sky, the testers exchanged puzzled glances. They just left. Didn't they tell us how to get down? Of course, deep down they knew this was the Hunter exam, nothing would ever be easy. So, what do we do now? Queried Leorio, glancing at Leo. A trapped tower promised danger at every step. Still, Leorio felt reassured with Leo leading. Leo gave a confident smile and tapped the bricks beneath his feet. The entrance has to be here. If you look closely, you'll find it. Gon, Killua, and Kurapika nodded. Leaders like Leo were rare. Genius-level instincts told them he was right. Leorio, on the other hand, relied heavily on Leo's process, and why not? Some testers, oddballs by nature, ventured away from the tower completely. Soon, a self-proclaimed expert rock climber ascended with swagger and shouted down. Sorry, everyone. First place in this test is mine. Ha! But his bravado didn't last. A mob of grotesque, twice human-sized birds swarmed, their fanged mouths dripping crimson. They tore him apart on the cliff, his screams echoed until silence, and the birds flew off glutted. Nobody rushed to rescue him. This was the Hunter exam, deadly as it was glorious. With no distractions, they refocused on Leo's strategy. The tower's access point was obvious once inspected. Leo uncovered several sealed shafts. He paused, studying patterns. Hisoka's been 10 meters behind me, Leo noted. The moment he descended, Hisoka would follow. Those passages might seal behind the first user, but with Nen tricks, Hisoka could break blocks easily. He turned to Hisoka. How long will you trail me? Hisoka chuckled, playing with his joker cards. Leo, you're my favorite prey. I'll follow you, always. Leo sighed and met Hisoka's gaze. This is your last stage. Huh? Hisoka tilted his head. We settle this in the final level. Winner lives, loser dies. Hisoka's face lit up bloodthirstily, then he paused, squinting. What if I refuse? We could fight now, why wait? Leo pointed to Gon a short distance away. That's my nephew. I'm here to keep him safe. If we fight now, I can't protect him, and with just one command, I'll remove him from this tower. If I choose escape, you'll never catch me. Not ever. He drew his sword slightly and continued. Your choice, fight me here and watch me vanish, or wait until the final test. You have 3 seconds. 1. 2. With Leo's unwavering resolve, Hisoka fell silent. Inside, he'd already weighed the odds. Leo might teleport or trap him. Shinra Tensei had elements of a mission Nen. Hisoka admired that range, but feared surprise. Then, quietly. 3. Hisoka sighed, leaning forward. Ah, you've beaten me, Leo. I promise, no attack until the final tower stage. He stepped onto a moving floor tile and glided into the sealed entry. His silent threat was unmistakable. This would not be the end, but for now, peace prevailed. Leo couldn't hide his relief as Hisoka disappeared. The bravest mistake in Hisoka's life was trusting me to follow rules. You underestimate my Nen. Leo glanced back at Gon and the others. Where's Hisoka? He followed me, right? Kurapika asked. Leo shrugged with a knowing smile. Maybe he got bored and left first. They looked skeptical but dropped it. Then Gon pointed. 1/2 meter right, there's a shaft down. We're lucky, 5 shafts side by side. They formed a tight pentagon. That setup could be a multi-trap, but also safety in numbers. Leorio asked. Use one together, or split up? They looked to Leo for guidance. Leo tapped again on the stone floor, feeling the resonance. Let's go down together. If we hit a trap, shout, we're close enough to help. Empowered, they nodded, bracing. Wish us luck. Hand in hand, the five of them plunged into the darkness below together. Chapter 28. When Leo jumped off the stone slab, it was pitch dark ahead. He couldn't see even a hand in front of him. Killua, however, could see everything in the gloom. When he spotted Leo, Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio, he chuckled. Looks like we got lucky. Everyone's here. Just then, the darkness vanished as lights switched on, and Leo could make out everything around them. They stood in a sealed stone brick room. On one wall was a TV, beneath which was a raised stone platform. Atop it sat 5 devices resembling wristwatches. Each displayed 71 hours 35 minutes 15 seconds, counting down. Clearly, the tester's remaining time. Each device had 2 buttons, O and X, purpose unknown. There's no exit in this room. How do we get out? Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio examined the walls, no secret doors. The TV flickered, revealing a man with glasses and a mohawk. He placed a hand on his frame and smiled. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to my castle. I'm your examiner this round. As for my name, you'll know it after you pass. They remained silent. The examiner coughed, face turning serious. Let's begin. You're now on voting road. Ahead of you may be a left and right path, choose one. Minority obeys majority. Choosing correctly leads down. Rare traps. Choose wrong. Traps everywhere, interminable delay. He chuckled wickedly. Let's see which of you has such awful luck that you always pick the wrong path. I love watching you regret it. Hee. The screen went black. Moments later, a section of stone wall rose, revealing an electronic door. Gon read the inscription. Open door? O equals open, X equals don't open. Without hesitation, they each pressed O one by one. A 10-centimeter thick steel door swung open slowly, brute force useless. Leorio muttered. This must be his backup in case we destroy the door instead of choosing. Even Killua and Kurapika nodded, they had thought that. A day of Hunter exam shortcut sealed. Suddenly, all eyes turned to Leo. Hey, why are you staring at Leo? Is something on his face? Gon asked, puzzled. Leo smiled and patted Gon's head. Don't worry about adult stuff, Gon. This is a great opportunity to train. If we pick wrong and face danger, it helps test and develop your ability to respond instinctively to danger. Hunters can't rely solely on others. His words applied to Kurapika and Leorio, too. Despite Leo's strength and friendly nature, they needed self-reliance. His recent rescue shaped respect but not dependency. Gon snorted jokingly. Don't treat me like a kid. I'm already an adult. Leo chuckled, patted him again, and led them through the doorway. They entered a long stone corridor and soon reached another fork. 2 doors, choices to make. A prompt appeared. Which door? O equals right, X equals left. They remained silent, mindful of Leo's advice, choose for themselves. Results flashed, 2 O's, 3 X's. The left door opened. Leorio grinned, Gon and Leo remained silent. Killua and Kurapika looked surprised, they were in the minority, but stayed composed. Speaking out would mark them as troublemakers. Over the next hour, they wandered potholed corridors. No dangers yet, but even Leo grew irritated. A dark aura whispered beneath his calm. So scary. The others swallowed nervously. If Leo grew irritable, he could break walls. Still, he held back. Suddenly, ahead lay a vast empty space. In the center, a huge arena floated, no shelter, No edges, just void. From above, plummeting meant instant death. The Mohawk examiner's voice crackled in the void. Welcome testers to the death arena. Your next task, defeat 5 opponents in best of 5 duels. You may only proceed after 3 victories, but you must finish all 5 rounds, win or lose. Good luck. 5 shackled figures appeared across the arena. Chains on wrists and ankles clinked. Click, click. As remotely released shackles unlocked, the first man removed his robe, revealing a towering, scarred bald warrior. Finally, someone's here, he said, cracking knuckles. Rules are simple. 5 matches, 1 at a time, no repeats. Fight to win. If you fear death, you may surrender. Draws? Not allowed. Someone must lose. Understood? Leo, Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio nodded. Only Gon's eyes wandered, he seemed lost in fanciful thought. He did grasp the rules, though, and nodded back. Chapter 29. Seeing all members of Leo's team had passed, the bald, scarred fighter stepped forward and thumbed himself. Very good. I'll go first for the opening match. You should send someone up quickly. As he spoke, a retractable stone staircase emerged beneath each of them, leading up to the arena. The bald man ascended without hesitation, no traps in sight. Leo glanced at Gon, Kurapika, Leorio, and Killua, about to speak, when Killua strode forward himself, smiling confidently at Leo. Let me fight first. I've had your help recently, so I should contribute. Kurapika and Leorio, unaware of Killua's background, warned. Killa. Isn't that too dangerous? That guy looks strong. Gon, who already knew Killua's secret, just smiled and waved. Killua, full of quiet confidence, turned to Kurapika and Leorio, brushing off their concern. Don't worry, Killua will be fine. He's much stronger than me, Gon reassured. Kurapika and Leorio exchanged uneasy glances but didn't stop him. Killua faced the bald man calmly and chuckled. Sir, you said this duel could be life or death, or not. I advise you not to choose death. Or you will. The bald man sneered. Kid, your intimidation doesn't work on me. I choose life and death battle, only the dead may leave. Too late for retreat. Killua nodded. Really? The bald man roared and lunged. But in the next moment. Plop. He tripped, fell face first, and slid across the battlefield, trailing blood in his wake. The stain grew vivid and terrifying. Killua calmly held up a fresh, beating heart. Sorry, sir, should have listened. Fighting me to the death wasn't smart. Everyone, including a stunned Gon, stared in horror. Even Gon, who knew Killua was strong, was shocked. Kurapika and Leorio thought. Monster. A monster like Killua. Placing the heart on the downed man, Killua turned to the other 4 guards. Bored now, anyone else want to try? They recoiled in fear. The examiner's voice echoed. Killa, stand down, you've passed. 1 match per person. Killua nonchalantly stretched and returned to the group. TSK, boring. Gon rushed forward excitedly. Killa, you're amazing. Embarrassed, Killua scratched his head. Compared to Dad, I'm nothing. He doesn't even spill blood. Kurapika and Leorio rolled their eyes inwardly, but were more curious now than ever. Kurapika asked tentatively. Killa, what does your family do? How are you so skilled in killing? Killua brightened. Oh. I forgot, I thought Gon told you. My family's generations of assassins, the Zolps. I'm Killua Zoldyck. He gazed at Leo for a reaction. Many would be shocked by the name, globally notorious assassins. But Leo stayed calm. Killua frowned. Darn, I thought it would impress you. Even the Zoldyck name doesn't shake you. Leo already knew of the Zoldycks, Silva's power, Zeno's Nen, Illumi's skill, even their dark continent ties. If Leo hadn't known, he'd react like Leorio and Kurapika did. Meanwhile, another opponent stepped forward, bald, but much smaller, lean and frail. His shackles clicked as he entered. Kurapika and Leorio looked to Gon. "This one's small, suited for you, Gon." Leo nodded. "Yeah, look at his build, weak frame." Gon wasn't overpowered by strength but was faster and more explosive. He accepted and walked into the ring. Gon asked curiously, "Sir, why do you have shackles? Are you criminals?" The frail man sighed. "Yes. All here are criminals, this tower is a prison. Traps are designed to kill escapees. But fights with hunters can reduce sentences. Life imprisonment, worse than death." He paused, talking in a rush, until the mohawked examiner intervened. "Stop talking, start fight." The frail man nodded, asked how Gon wanted to duel. "I'm weak in strength and speed. This isn't a direct physical contest for me, choose the method." Gon interrupted, innocent eyes bright. "Why change? I can knock you down easily, no disadvantage in fighting properly." The frail man's smile faded. Before he could respond, Gon firmed his stance, determined. "Besides, I have to win. I convinced Aunt Mito to let me enter. I won't fail." His tone and posture stunned the frail man. Without hesitation, Gon sprinted like a champion, fast beyond measure, and landed a solid blow to the man's stomach. The frail man collapsed and spat blood, kneeling. "I admit defeat. I admit defeat." Gon, startled, looked to Leo and the group. "Can I admit defeat?" They realized, yes. Any non-death match opponent may surrender. Gon had learned the rule, and passed the duel. Chapter 30. After getting confirmation from Leo and the others, Gon smiled and extended his hand to the thin man kneeling on the ground. Seeing Gon's extended hand, the thin man was stunned for a moment, looking at Gon with a puzzled expression. "What are you doing? Are you sympathizing with me?" Gon smiled brightly and shook his head gently. "No. I just think it's great that you're my first opponent in life. I've been worried that I might be afraid of fighting. Afraid of killing. But the punch I just gave you, I used all my strength, and I was ready to kill you. That makes me realize I'm truly ready to become a hunter." After saying this, Gon took the thin man's hand and beamed. "So, I really thank you." When Gon stepped off the ring, Leo's big hand came down in time to pat Gon's spiky head. Even if Gon wanted to hide, he couldn't, he just helplessly let his head get ruffled. "Well done." Hearing Leo's praise, Gon raised his head and hummed softly. "Humph. Even if you praise me, I won't feel happy." Leorio clenched his fist and shouted excitedly. "We won. This is best of 5. Gon and Killua each won one match. Next, it doesn't matter if Kurapika and I lose, Leo, you'll definitely win." Hearing this, Kurapika glanced at Leorio and said lightly, with a somewhat unhappy expression, "Leorio, although this is best of 5, everyone must play. If you're the only one who loses, you'll lose face." Leorio hurriedly smiled and apologized to Kurapika. Sorry. Kurapika, you know that's not what I meant. We'll definitely win, all the matches." Kurapika nodded silently. He knew Leorio's personality, sometimes he spoke without thinking. There was no malice, but it did sound uncomfortable to others. Soon, the third match began. Standing opposite them was a huge, extremely ugly man. As he came on stage, he threw off his shirt with a booming laugh, revealing bulging muscles. While flaunting his physique, the ugly strong man lifted his head and roared. "Killing, killing, I love killing. Who of you will die?" Seeing him, Leo, Killua, Gon and Kurapika all looked on calmly. Frankly, he seemed really low quality. His ugly face and bulky muscles might scare ordinary people, but anyone with eyes could tell he was all brawn and no skill. No killer instinct, no courage, just boorish intimidation. Only Leorio didn't see that. He just thought the man looked dangerous. After all, the muscles were intimidating. "Let me do this match." Kurapika glanced at the alarmed Leorio and silently stepped into the ring. Leorio still didn't see it yet and began shouting beside him. "Kurapika, be careful. That ugly guy looks really strong." Gon stared at Leorio in confusion and tilted his head. "Is that uncle very strong?" Born and raised wandering the forest, Gon had a unique sense of danger, and he couldn't feel any threat from this muscle-bound brute. Leorio nodded confidently. "Yep, that guy's strong. Look at his ugly face, he hasn't been beaten to death. That alone means he's tough." "Is that so?" Gon looked to the ring doubtfully. Meanwhile, the ugly strong man saw Kurapika and burst into wild laughter. "Great, great. I didn't expect such a weak opponent. Little one, you'll die miserably. I'll smash your bones bit by bit, spill your blood all over the ring, and—" Kurapika interrupted calmly. "Can we start? I don't like to waste time." The ugly man paused, thinking. "Damn, what's up with this guy? Most people would be terrified by my face and muscles, how can he be so calm?" At that moment, he swallowed and bellowed. "Kid, look closely, these 19 heart-shaped tattoos on my body represent the 19 people I've killed. If you don't want to die and be eaten by me, just admit defeat. Otherwise—" "There's no otherwise. Let's start, and you talk too much." Kurapika shed his coat, drew his double-pointed sword, and assumed a fighting stance. Seeing that, the ugly man finally understood that Kurapika truly wasn't afraid of him. He sneered. "I want to see how calm you stay." He clenched his fists, ran up, leapt into the air, and swung a downward punch at Kurapika's head. Feeling the wind from the blow, Kurapika didn't meet it head-on, he casually dodged with a hop. While airborne, he swung his sword fiercely, slashing at the ugly man's neck. In Kurapika's eyes, the opponent was flawed. If he didn't seize the moment to counterattack, it would be wasteful. But the next second, the ugly man's right fist smashed the brick floor. Boom! The tough bricks shattered, stones flying everywhere. Kurapika dodged the debris, frowning in confusion. Weird. This guy is obviously weak, how can he have such power? A moment later, Kurapika's glasses flashed red. The world seemed drenched in blood. His gaze locked onto the ugly man's back, and saw a spider pattern. "Spider," he muttered coldly, staring at the man's back. But before he could act, the ugly man's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed unconscious to the ground. That slash to the neck had knocked him out. Kurapika took a deep breath, unclenched his fists, and watched the red fade from his lenses to normal black. After a long pause, he stood and said calmly, "Examiner, I've won this match. Please let me leave." But the bridge to exit the ring didn't appear. The mohawk-haired examiner spoke again. "Haha, I didn't expect to face a descendant of the exterminated Korta tribe. Those scarlet eyes are the Korta's iconic trait. And the opponent happens to be a fake Phantom Troop criminal. A twist of fate, very interesting." He chuckled more. "But it's a pity. Though you defeated this fake troop member, that doesn't count as a win. You didn't agree to any other win conditions. By the ring's original rules, only one party's death or surrender ends a deathmatch. Anything else doesn't count." Kurapika silently looked at the unconscious strong man, then sat quietly, eyes closed in thought. He didn't strike again. Leorio was furious. "Kurapika, what are you doing? Hurry up and land a killing blow. Don't tell me you won't kill. This guy is obviously a heinous criminal. If you kill him, so what? No guilt needed. But Kurapika remained silent, sitting still. He just lifted his head slightly, glanced toward Leo and the others, and shook his head gently. Chapter 31. Leorio, I've told you before. People who aim to gain wealth are doomed to have low moral character. Well, now I'll add one more rule, just for me. I will never attack someone who has lost the will to fight and can no longer fight back. If I did that, what would be the difference between me and the phantom troop that wiped out my entire clan? At this, Leorio stomped his foot, pointed at Kurapika's nose, and cursed. Kurapika, are you an idiot? That guy is just a criminal pretending to be in the phantom troop, right? Don't you hate the troop? If you kill him now, isn't that like paving the way to kill the real phantom troop later? Isn't it good to kill two birds with one stone? What if, later, the real troop pretends to be dead and you just sit there watching? Kurapika glanced at the ugly strong man lying on the ground and shook his head silently. He is not a member of the troop, so I won't kill him before he wakes up. But if he is a member, then I will definitely kill him. Even if this drags my personality into the abyss, I'll have no regrets. You. Leo was ready to retort, but Leo, Suyi, stepped forward and gently placed a hand on Leorio's shoulder. Okay, Leorio, stop. Since this is Kurapika's decision, we have no right to interfere, it's his competition. Although I don't fully understand it. But. Leo smiled, pointing at the fallen man. No buts. If Kurapika won't kill him, then I'll help finish things. It's boring to waste time on someone playing dead. With that, Leo silently activated Shinra Tensei, modulating its strength and range carefully. In an instant, the ugly man was sent flying as if hit by a truck. He traced an arc through the air and fell into the dark abyss beyond the ring. There was no scream, just a thud, as though a body had fallen into meat paste. No one reacted at first. The prisoners were stunned, not understanding how their opponent had jumped, or fallen, so far. Gone, Kurapika, Killua, and Leorio stared at Leo. They'd seen him use Shinra Tensei, that terrifying force that repels everything. It truly is his unique ability. Seeing everyone's eyes on him, Leo smirked. Why are you staring? He jumped off on his own. What does it have to do with me? He refused to admit interfering, which made sense. This was a deathmatch arena. Outsiders aren't allowed to intervene. If Leo confessed it was his doing, the Hunter examiner might rule it a cheat or malicious interference, and that could void everyone's tests. There's a saying, cheating isn't cheating if you're not caught. The concealment of Shinra Tensei was so precise that even Hisoka couldn't see through it. The examiner wouldn't notice anything amiss. Even though they all knew it was Leo, they could only grit their teeth. Leorio and Killua lit up and nodded repeatedly. Yeah, his luck sucks. I bet he tried to jump and attack Kurapika, but jumped too hard and accidentally jumped himself to death. The others felt ashamed hearing it. Sure, there's no proof, but the ring's edge was 5 or 6 meters away. How did someone jump that far? Kurapika looked deeply at Leo, then quietly descended the steps. When he reached Leo, he leaned in and whispered. Thank you. He didn't blame Leo. He understood that letting that man play dead would have delayed the whole group. Delay too long, everyone fails the exam. So Leo stepped in to save time. Kurapika appreciated the help, even if it broke his own rule. You're welcome, Leo replied. Inside, he knew Kurapika's calm exterior masked fierceness. Kurapika typically wouldn't show mercy, especially after seeing that spider tattoo, and triggering his red eyes. That emotional surge made him reckless, irrational. It was Leo who controlled the situation, so Kurapika didn't have to. Since the man vanished into the abyss, Kurapika won by default. Haha, 3 of 5 games, now we've won 3. No matter what happens next, we've passed this level. Leorio soon forgot the dispute. He smiled at everyone. I'll go next. Leo, you'll be last. Leo nodded. Okay, I can handle it. When Leorio stepped on stage, he raised his head, shouted arrogantly. Who's next? Bring it on. I'll beat you to a pulp. After a few matches, Leorio had plenty of confidence. He judged the prisoners were weak. The one against Killua died too fast, Gon beat the skinny guy, and Kurapika handled the braggart. These opponents were just trash. But then a prisoner removed his coat, and Leorio froze. No. It can't be. Dismemberment expert Johnny? This man had a familiar, English face, veined hands that triggered cold memories. Johnny was infamous. He murdered at least 146 people, dismembering them with his bare hands, no tools. Even the least damaged were sliced into over 50 pieces. His barbaric strength caused panic when he was finally caught. Johnny smiled at Leorio's terrified stare. Though his face looked aristocratic, his eyes and grin were dripping with cruelty. Ah! It's been too long. I haven't torn fresh flesh in a while. I hope your fat's still firm, easy to rip. He grabbed at the wall, bricks tore off with one hand. Wow! Leorio's got a dangerous opponent. Killua whistled nearby. To him, Johnny was just another threat, but for Leorio, it was near death. No one stepped in. Even Gon just watched, worried. It's a hunter exam, each contestant's life is at stake. What happened in prior rounds showed that Killua could kill, and Johnny might kill Leorio. The principle is simple, kill or be killed. This is Leorio's battle alone. Johnny grinned cruelly as he approached. Your meat looks good. I'll tear you limb from limb. I love human screams. Damn it. Leorio drew his knife, prepared, though he knew his chances were slim. But surrendering wasn't his style. The match begins. The examiner's excited voice rang out, this round was the real show. Johnny charged in like sumo. Leorio rushed toward him too, dagger raised, slashing at his face. Johnny grabbed the dagger with his right hand, and snapped it. Leorio's eyes widened as the blade broke. Johnny laughed. That's it, despair, helplessness, pain, wailing. I love seeing humans like that. He reached out again, but Leorio, having passed the first running test, was faster than normal folks. He kicked Johnny hard, pushing him away, and bleeding spilled down his trouser leg as the fabric tore. Chapter 32. There were several pieces of rags in Johnny the Dismemberer's hand. There was still some blood and flesh on the rags. Obviously, although Leorio had kicked him away, Johnny had still caught him with his right hand. Fortunately, the wound on Leorio's foot was shallow, a flesh wound, and not serious. Leorio. Be careful, Gon shouted anxiously from outside the ring. Hearing this, Leorio didn't turn his head, but glanced down at his bloody right foot and thought with a curse. Damn it, I'm injured after one encounter. If I continue to fight, I'll definitely die. Do I really have to surrender and admit defeat? Although Leorio hated to admit it, he really couldn't beat Johnny. But surrender wasn't his style. Even if he surrendered, he'd have to bite off a piece of the enemy's flesh. That was Leorio's pride. With resolve firming in his mind, Leorio rushed toward Johnny the Dismemberer again. Hey Tilda, Johnny sneered, putting his hands in a sumo stance. This time, he wouldn't let Leorio escape again. Just as they were about to collide, Leorio swung the broken knife at Johnny's face. Johnny, confident, caught it easily. But then, bang, a stone smacked into his head. Blood spurted, staining his vision red. What's going on? Where did that come from? Johnny stumbled, confused. But the spectators saw it clearly. Leorio had thrown a stone with his other hand simultaneously. Because Johnny caught the knife, his vision was blocked, he didn't see the stone coming. Then Leorio hurled several more stones, left over from the ugly strong man's broken bricks. Johnny, overconfident and slow to react, got hit before he could block them. Licking the blood from his lips, Johnny only smiled more cruelly. "Boy, nicely done. You make this fun." Boom! Johnny lunged at Leorio with full force, he no longer held back. Seeing Johnny's unstoppable charge, Leorio turned and fled, shouting, "I give up, I give up." But Johnny ignored it. In his eyes, Leorio was already dead, destined to be torn to pieces. As he reached out, a fishing hook whistled and struck Johnny's face, halting him. He paused and looked to see Gon holding the hook. "Kid, after I kill this man, you're next." Gon faced Johnny confidently. "I'm not afraid of you. And Leorio already surrendered, why chase him?" Johnny sneered and turned back to pursue Leorio, only to find Leorio had made it back to safety. Then another figure appeared on the stone bridge. Backed by Gon and the others, Leorio slumped to the ground, gasping. "Damn, I thought I was done for. Gon, thank you, I thought he'd tear me apart." You surrendered, I just helped you finish the match." Leorio nodded in understanding while bandaging his foot, looking at the ring. Meanwhile, Leo wasn't looking at Johnny, but at the last remaining opponent. "My opponent is you. Come on, get on stage so I can end this." Johnny scoffed. "Boy, who do you think you are? You'll die in my hands." Then Johnny lunged. Facing Johnny's crushing hands, Leo raised his own and caught them. "It's done," Johnny declared as he tried to break Leo's grip, but a tremendous force pressed through Leo's hold. "Ah!" Johnny screamed as his hands bent unnaturally. His knees buckled, his hands twisted like dried dough sticks, shriveled like chicken claws. "My hands! My hands! Ah!" Seeing Johnny in agony, Leo spoke flatly, expressionless. "Since you're not my opponent, I'll spare you. But living crime can't go unpunished." Leo lifted Johnny's mangled hands and slowly brought them down, from hand, to wrist, to arm, each movement accompanied by bone-crushing sounds. Johnny writhed and kicked, but it was useless. Leo's grip was immovable. Finally, Leo released Johnny's mangled limbs. "I'm not the law, nor a messenger of justice. But even dying would be too good for a murderer like you. Now you'll live, crippled, in prison forever. Without your hands, those who feared you will enjoy it." He turned to face the final opponent. "Your turn. Don't worry, I'm still a peace-loving guy. Unless you're annoying, I won't do much to you." His handsome face and gentle smile were comforting, but nobody felt like smiling at Johnny, moaning in agony. Most agreed that crippling his hands wasn't excessive, it was justice. On the other side, the final prisoner removed her robe, revealing a girl with long, fluffy hair. Without cosmetics, she was stunning even in a prison. She looked at Johnny, still screaming, and snorted in disgust. "I thought he was powerful. He's pathetic." Then she shot a coquettish glance at Leo. "Handsome boy, you're strong, I'm not your opponent." Leo cracked his knuckles and responded with a grin. "Don't worry, I'm gentle with women, even though I'm strong. Just bear with me, okay?" Quick mandatory cult break. The gods doesn't get mad. Did you know, Togushi's back pain is the reason the manga disappears so often? He's been open about it and author notes and even drew himself lying down in pain in one issue. Fans now joke he literally has a nen restriction, only works when near death. Okay, let's keep going. Chapter 33. Hearing this, the girl's pretty face froze slightly. She clearly hadn't expected Leo would actually hit her. She was beautiful, and men usually felt sorry for women like her. How could someone be so cruel? She hurriedly called out, anxious. Wait, this isn't fair. You're a man, and I'm a woman. Naturally, you're stronger than I am. Are you really going to bully a powerless girl? Leo blinked, then nodded slightly. You have a point. Her eyebrows lifted in hope, but then Leo continued. But I believe in true equality between men and women. Even if you're a woman, and a beauty, if you oppose me, I won't hesitate to fight. He stepped forward, clenched his right fist, and held it in front of her face. Choose. Do you want me to hit you in the face, or the chest? She covered her, modestly, and begged, tears in her eyes. Can you just not hit me at all? Leo nodded. Of course. But the next moment, his knife cracked across her neck, and she fainted. Leo watched her collapse without sympathy, no helping hand, no gentlemanly gesture. Leorio, seeing this, shouted. Leo, how can you be so rude to a girl? Women are meant to be loved, not beaten. While Leo said nothing, Jian tilted his head in confusion and replied. Leorio, what are you saying? She's our opponent. If she's the enemy, she must be defeated. If it were me, I'd do the same. Both Killua and Kurapika nodded. Killua added with a cruel grin. Actually, I've had quite a few women die at my hands. I think Leo is too gentle. If it were me, she'd be dead. Leorio opened his mouth but then realized he was the only one objecting. He shut it. He felt like a dog licking boots. No self-esteem at all. Wait, why did Leo knock her out? Unless we agreed on special rules, this match only ends with death or surrender. Nothing else counts as a win. Kurapika's words shocked everyone. They turned to Leo, who was already practicing his sword moves in the ring. Leo, what are you doing? Kurapika asked. Without missing a beat, Leo replied calmly while swinging. As you can see, I plan to stay in this ring for 3 days. He paused, as though searching for the right words. This test lasts 3 days. Even if we finish early, there's no benefit, only disadvantages. Like what? Jian asked, tilting his head. Killua answered instead of Leo. I get Leo's plan. Jian, what would happen if we rush ahead now? Kurapika spoke next, solemnly. Hisoka, we'd meet Hisoka. Killua nodded. Yes. With Hisoka's strength, he'll quickly clear the trap tower. He'd finish and then wait 3 days at the finish line. You all know Hisoka, that perverted killer. Being forced to wait idle for 3 days would drive him insane. He'd attack Leo. And though Leo wouldn't fear him, we'd get caught in the crossfire. So Leo delays until the 3rd day. They all nodded, it made sense. Hisoka was impulsive if provoked. Leo, however, had another motive. He needed time to train. If he reached the end too soon, he'd face Hisoka with little nen control. Hisoka could easily see through his weakened state. So Leo planned to train during these 3 days, raising his nen power by about 500 units. That way, he could use Shinra Tensei more effectively when it mattered most. 3 days passed quickly. Each time the unconscious girl woke, Leo knocked her out again, never giving her a chance to surrender. If she had, the test would end, and the delay would be lost. Those prisoners relied on delay to reduce their sentences. On the morning of the 3rd day, Leo checked his panel. Date, January 11, 1999, early morning. Name, Leo. Age, 26. Psychic energy, 2117-2612. Type, special. Abilities, Night Undying with Bare Hands, 1000, Shinra Tensei, 500. Scene 2612 energy, Leo smiled. Very good. I can use Night Undying 3 times and still have enough for one Shinra Tensei. That's 15 minutes of power, more than enough. He reasoned that real fights last minutes, one decisive blow wins. His goal, 2 or 3 night strikes, then a Shinra Tensei to open Hisoka's opening. He wouldn't need fancy moves, just one killing blow. Still, he felt he could optimize more with extra days. He stood, and the prisoners woke, confused. Hey! Stop pretending to sleep, just say you admit defeat. Leo squatted and gently patted the girl's face, a surprisingly soft, smooth face in that grim prison. She still didn't awaken. Leo lifted her hand and prepared to walk her toward the abyss by the ring's edge. Finally, she snapped awake. Stop. I admit defeat, okay? Leo lowered her and, without looking at her, addressed the others. 8 hours left. Let's take the shortcut. Shortcut? They echoed. Leo, you haven't been in the trap tower, how know a shortcut? Leo smiled and pointed downward. The trap tower is a maze filled with traps. Walking normally wastes time, and you can dead end or get lost. But the exit's right below. He stepped onto the stone bridge and offered his hand. Trust me. Just hold hands. Looking at his confident, handsome face, they all smiled. Okay, we trust you. They all placed their hands on Leo's, Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio, friends united. So, Leo, what's the plan? They asked. Holding Gon's hand while pointing to the abyss, Leo said. We jump. Ah? Before they could react, Leo pushed, and they all tumbled into the dark abyss. Chapter 34. Ah! Leorio's terrified scream echoed through the chamber as he stared into the pitch-black abyss. He could do nothing but scream. Although Gon, Killua, and Kurapika panicked too, they believed Leo wouldn't purposefully seek death, so their fear was tempered. Leo silently counted in his mind. Using high school physics, he estimated the fall height based on the fall time. Recently, he'd perfected his master-level martial arts circle, part of Night Undying with bare hands, expanding its radius to over 500 meters. By comparison, even Killua's grandfather, Zeno Zoldyck, can only sense within a 300-meter radius. Not because Leo is stronger, but because their circles serve different functions. Zeno's is precise detection, Leo's maximizes range. For a trap-laden maze like the trap tower, Leo's circle is far more useful. Walls, dead ends, traps, all revealed within 500 meters. Using it, he calculated that the usual path would take over 10 hours to traverse, even choosing every correct turn. Meanwhile, Leo and his team only had 8 hours. Normal walking risked failure. So Leo chose the dangerous, but fastest, route. Now, Leo, having estimated the height, unleashed Shinra Tensei into the darkness ahead. Boom tilde. Before Gon and the others reacted, rubble rained down, their eyes widened, then they found themselves in a new room. Shinra Tensei's repulsive force had safely floated them down, effectively floating, not flying. Leorio coughed, looking around at the smashed ceiling and walls. Gon and the others stared at the hole above. They recognized the darkness. Hundreds of meters above was the arena from which they'd fallen. Leo, can you actually fly? Are you even human? Kurapika asked, shocked. Leo smiled and shook his head. Not flying, just floating. Maybe, once you become real hunters, you'll develop actual flight. Kurapika's eyes trembled as he spoke. Leo, you said hunters could have these strange abilities. But you're not one yet. How can we have such power now? Leo understood Kurapika's thirst for strength against the phantom troop. He replied softly. True ability takes time, and proper teachers. I'm strong, but not your guide. When you pass the hunter exam, the association will assign pro instructors. So focus on passing, then we can talk about powers. Kurapika nodded, calm returning. Gon, Killua, and Leorio also wanted to learn, but they understood it wasn't the time, and said nothing further. Where are we now? Kurapika asked once they'd settled. They looked around. This was clearly an old prisoner cell, now ruined. The ceiling crushed a bed and left dead bodies beneath. But no one questioned it. These were criminals who were locked here. Living in this place was worse than death. Now they were dead, but perhaps relief. A voice crackled from a surveillance camera. You five are outrageous. Trying to destroy a trap tower. Leo smiled and responded. Examiner, no destruction intended. We just fell. And happened to break the prison ceiling. By luck, we survived. All accidental. Accidental. The examiner growled, suppressing outrage. To avoid Leo's future wrath, he restrained himself. Fine. Proceed to the tester-only passage. Don't destroy any walls. Otherwise, disqualification, humph. They exchanged grins. The hidden door ahead would be easy now, thanks to Leo's shortcut. They continued through trap-filled passages, rolling boulders, land mines, electric channels, but passed safely. With 2 hours remaining, they reached a stone door that opened slowly. Inside was a subterranean chamber filled with dozens of people, including Hisoka, sitting by the exit with a sly grin. You're late. I've been waiting, Hisoka said, licking his lips, murderous aura swelling. The room fell silent. Everyone glared inwardly. Here he goes again. Can't he shut up for 2 seconds? I just want to pass this test quietly. Leo didn't pay attention to Hisoka's aura, but mentally, he stayed alert. Hisoka could strike at any time. Under the group's watch, Hisoka stood and slowly approached Leo, his smile widening perversion. Leo, you've been teasing me these past days, making my heart pound. He paused, then said breathily, I can't bear it any longer. Leo understood. Every expansion of Leo's circle had excited Hisoka's predatory instinct. Hisoka craved a duel with Leo, either kill him or die. Staring into Hisoka's eyes, Leo said calmly. Be patient. At the final level, I'll satisfy you well. But now. Not the time. Hisoka beamed, murderous aura intensifying. Then he relaxed and nodded. You're right. You're my most delicious meal, I must save you for last. I'll wait. He returned to his seat, but glanced at Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio and said. Ah, these cute little apples. They grow sweeter by the minute. Before tasting Leo, let me nibble at these first, tilde. Gon and the others shivered and averted their gazes from the pervert. Without Hisoka's constant pressure, the group found a clear spot, sat, and rested. After hours of traps and Hisoka's lurking threat, they were exhausted, most from Hisoka's eerie presence, making them nervous. Time dragged until. Dingling tilde. A bell rang and the examiner's voice echoed. Time is up for the third level assessment, Chapter 35. Hunter Test, Third Test, 30 people passed. Congratulations to all test takers for advancing. As the examiner's voice rang out. Rumble tilde. The door at the bottom floor slowly swung open, allowing bright morning sunlight to flood in, dazzling everyone. They subconsciously stood and moved toward the exit. Leo led them out. He spotted a man with glasses and a mohawk who looked shifty, and saw him scowl at Leo. That resentment was obvious. The examiner hated that Leo had casually demolished the trap tower's ceiling, far more difficult to repair than a simple wall. If not for Leo's strength, the examiner would have revoked his qualification. Feeling that scrutinizing gaze, Leo offered a light smile. The examiner snorted, and the other testers exchanged confused looks. One moment he'd been cordial, now cold. Returning to his sly grin, the examiner addressed the group. Well, Congratulations again for surviving the trap tower. 2 more tests stand between you and the Hunter title. The next, 4th, test takes place on an uninhabited island. We'll send you there shortly. But before that, he pulled out a large box, unexpected and notably heavy. From it came a slip labeled 403, which belonged to Leo. Leo's lips curled. Interesting, he said. A show of strength, or telling me you control the numbers. Everyone, see this box? It holds your numbers. Come up and draw, declared the examiner, then returned Leo's number and shook the box. Draw lots? The testers bristled at the unease in that announcement. Hee. Yes, draw lots. It's the ceremony to determine the prey and the hunter. The examiner's grin turned truly malicious. Okay, draw in the order you passed the trap tower. Without hesitation, Hisaka strode forward to draw. He met the examiner's gaze, that perverted grin returning. The Mohawk examiner swallowed hard, and sweat beaded his forehead. Examiner, I trust you gave me a good number, Hisaka chuckled, drew his slip, and revealed. 403, Leo's number. He spun and waved the plate, his grin more insane than before. Leo, looks like we're destined partners, he declared. Leo ignored Hisaka's theatrics, focusing on the examiner, smiling brightly, a calm, sunny smile, yet one that chilled the examiner to the bone. It was clear the Mohawk guy feared Leo. It wasn't random, Hisaka drawing Leo's number was deliberate, and a slight revenge on the examiner. Hisaka walked off with a foolish smile, murderous intent rippling from his figure. One by one, others drew their numbers, but none displayed theirs like Hisaka. When Leo's turn arrived, he drew number 44. Leo's smile became radiant, and he gently patted the examiner's shoulder. Better hope you never meet me again, otherwise I'll kill you myself. The examiner froze, but soon returned to his sly grin. Hee. Deal with me. Better survive the next level first. Once everyone had their cards, the examiner explained. These numbers correspond to your prey. Your prey's card is your target. Here are the rules. Steal your prey's tag, you get 3 points. Keep your own tag at the end, you get 3 points. Steal someone else's tag, you get 1 point. Earn 6 points by the end, and you pass the 4th test. Silence filled the room as they concealed their tags. Deathly tension reigned, they all understood this was now a kill or be killed scenario. Sensing no one had questions, the Mohawk examiner nodded. Very good. We'll have you transported to the uninhabited island. You must stay there a full week before pickup. No food or water brought, this is part of the test. No objections arose, they accepted it as part of becoming hunters. An airship appeared, they boarded in silence. Only Hisaka seemed bent on trailing Leo. Sensing this, Leo motioned Gon and the others aside, then stepped into a quiet corner. Leo, looks like our deal's off, Hisaka whispered as he leaned against the wall, bloodlust in his smile. Leo folded his arms, retorting softly. Plans change, no problem. We'll fight sooner or later. He pulled out his number tag and showed it, 44, Hisaka's number. So my prey, is you. Hisaka's eyes lit up, his grin widening. A perfect match indeed. Chapter 36. The conversation with Hisaka didn't last long. Leo got away from him and found Gon and the others. Hisaka didn't continue looking for trouble. Anyway, they would stay on the uninhabited island for 7 days, so that was plenty of time for him to amuse himself. Leo, what are you going to do? Hisaka's not easy to deal with. Hearing this, Leo smiled and replied easily. It's okay, it's just a fight with Hisaka. I definitely won't die. Don't worry. Seeing Leo so relaxed, Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio didn't feel relieved. They looked at him seriously. Leo, We know we aren't qualified to get involved in the battle between you and Hisoka, but if you need our help, just say so. Even a small contribution is fine." Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio all stared at Leo earnestly. Only Killua stayed silent. That wasn't surprising. Killua had been raised to prioritize himself, never risking his life rashly for others. But after a moment, he spoke softly. "Leo, I won't risk my life like they might. If it's a trap though, I'll help. With my years as a killer, I've got a good shot at ambushing Hisoka. Even if I can't kill him outright, I could at least injure him." Leo smiled and nodded. "Don't worry. If I can't handle it myself, I'll definitely ask you for help." At that, Leo changed the subject. He didn't want tension, so he chuckled and asked, "By the way, what are your assigned targets?" "Mine happens to be Hisoka, and I'm too lazy to find him. He'll find me." Everyone pulled out the number plate they'd drawn. Gon's was 246, Killua's 199, Leorio's 362, and Kurapika's 198. They all breathed a sigh of relief. Luckily, none of us are targets for each other. Soon though, everyone frowned. Leorio rubbed his head. "Who are the people these numbers belong to? Do you remember anyone?" Killua, Gon, and Kurapika shook their heads. They'd had no advanced knowledge of the fourth test, so they didn't know the tester's numbers. Unless a tester was really eye-catching, like Hisoka or Leo, they wouldn't stand out. Kurapika frowned thoughtfully. "All the remaining testers are smart. They'd hide their numbers subconsciously. To find our targets, we'd need to find a needle in a haystack. We might miss them and have to go after whoever's left." Everyone nodded, but Leo shook his head calmly. "No, I already know who your number plates belong to." "Huh?" Gon and the others looked surprised. "No way. Leo, do you have photographic memory? Did you memorize them in one glance?" Leo shrugged. "No, my memory isn't that amazing. I prepared ahead of time. I figured the Hunter Association would have us fight each other to measure our combat power, so while we were in the trap tower, I watched people pass the level closely. Always better to prepare." Hearing that, everyone looked at Leo with admiration. They thought he was not just strong, but smart and handsome. A perfect man, basically. Of course, Leo's preparation came from knowing the test ahead of time. Naturally, he had memorized the tester's numbers in advance. He looked at Gon and continued. "Your target is No. 246, it's a girl, the only female who's passed so far. Do you remember her?" Everyone's faces lit up. They vaguely recalled her being the only girl among them. But they hadn't paid much attention at the time. Leo's memory was sharper, but not just because she was a girl. In the original story, that girl was killed by the Chimera ants, eaten whole, no trace. Her companions fared worse, captured, controlled by Neferpito, tested on Nen, then turned into meat sauce served to the queen. It was tragic. Reflecting on that, Leo turned to Killua and Kurapika. "Your targets are the three brothers wearing hats. If you find one, you find all three, they stick together. Better to team up than go solo." Killua's eyes lit up. "Interesting, so that's them." He looked at Kurapika with a smirk. "Kurapika, sorry, I'll help you hunt them down if I find them first. Don't thank me." Kurapika didn't get upset. After spending days with Killua, he saw beyond the sarcasm. He was easy to get along with, not a solid partner, but a decent friend. He gave a small smile and nodded. "Thank you. But if I find the three first, I'll go for all of them. Then you can come get your plate." Their banter was sharp, but playful, friendly competition. Finally, Leorio, your target is No. 362. That person. Leo paused, touching his chin. How to say this? Very ordinary. Ordinary? Everyone looked puzzled. Leo nodded. Yeah, ordinary. Appearance, build, nothing special. Just a passerby. If anything stands out, maybe small eyes? He sounded unsure. No. 362 was really forgettable. Leo even wondered if it was a disguise by a master hunter, but the aura didn't reflect that. He dismissed the idea. You'll see who it is once we disembark the airship, he said with a smile. Leorio nodded, relieved. If Leo called someone ordinary, they were probably weak, not someone to worry about. But Leo felt uneasy himself. His expression grew serious. Also, to everyone, if someone asks you for your number plate, just give it. Even if I warned them, and they respect you for being my friend, they might still attack. If you see them, run. Don't engage. Just don't oppose them. As long as I'm alive, they won't kill you. At that, Gon and the others stiffened, even Killua went on high alert. They knew how powerful Leo was, even someone Leo considered strong could kill them instantly. Killua thought back, he'd once felt unbeatable except by his family. But one hunter exam changed that. That's no. 301. I forgot his name, but you'll remember his appearance. Before Leo could continue, Gon and the others realized who he meant. They pictured him. Needles all over his body, trypophobia-inducing. This Jitaraku was really Killua's brother, Illumi Zoldyck. Leo, is that guy with needles all over him really strong? Leo nodded silently. Very. Think of him as another Hisoka. Sizzle hiss. They pictured two Hisokas standing in front of them, grinning pervertedly, and felt chills. The man with needles was untouchable. Getting to the island took time, over an hour by airship, then 2 hours by boat. The Hunter Association clearly wanted to ramp up the anxiety. When Hisoka was the first off the boat, he turned and stared straight at Leo, grinning brightly. I've been waiting for you, Leo. Chapter 37. Seeing Hisoka's bright smile, Leo also smiled and responded. See you next time. The two spoke calmly and even acted quite intimate, like two brothers with a good relationship. However, the others present felt extremely uneasy. The calmer and friendlier the two appeared, the more fear everyone felt, like the stillness before a tsunami, a prelude to crisis. Hee. Hisoka stopped talking, turned with a grin, and walked into the jungle. Once Hisoka's figure disappeared, everyone sighed in relief. His presence was simply terrifying. Just seeing him made people uncomfortable. As for Leo, though his strength appeared to rival Hisoka's, he didn't exude the same love for killing. So, people respected Leo more than feared him. 2 minutes after Hisoka entered the forest, Illumi, disguised as the needle-covered man, also entered. Then, each tester followed every 2 minutes, as per the rules set by the Hunter Association. This was likely to prevent chaos at the start. After all, this test was about surviving in the wild, how one reacts to danger and prey in an unfamiliar environment. Anyone unable to adapt wouldn't make a good hunter. When Leo entered the forest, he instantly sensed many auras. Ordinary people's auras gradually dissipate. To a Nen user, they're like bright lights in the dark, very noticeable. There were exceptions, of course. Killua could hide his aura well. Though he didn't know how to use Nen, his family's training allowed him to suppress it subconsciously. But without actual Nen control, his suppression wasn't perfect. Careful observation could still detect him, though average users might miss it. Gon could also suppress his presence. Having grown up in the jungle, he had a natural ability to blend into the environment. But it was limited to nature. Outside the forest, he couldn't do it as effectively. After sensing the chi distribution around him, Leo chose the direction with the fewest people. He had already activated Zetsu before entering the forest, completely concealing his own aura. Unless spotted by eye or sensed through N, no one could detect his presence, While walking, Leo thought. Today is January 11th, still 2 days until my next sign and skill is available. I'll find a hiding spot for now. Leo was cautious. Without absolute certainty of victory, he wouldn't initiate a fight with Hisoka. Of course, if he were unlucky and ran into Hisoka, he'd have no choice but to fight. But then, Leo laughed to himself. He'd already sensed Hisoka's killing intent, though it was far away from him. Unlike Leo, who kept hidden, Hisoka radiated his killing intent openly, strolling leisurely across the uninhabited island. Many testers picked up on this and stayed away. Clearly, Hisoka was sending a message. I'm here. If you've got guts, come and kill me. Sensing Hisoka's provocation, Leo chuckled and murmured. That's why you'll lose. Your confidence, no, your arrogance, will be your downfall. With that, Leo found a remote spot and silently began practicing Nen. With such distance between them, Leo knew as long as he didn't flare his energy, Hisoka wouldn't notice. Meanwhile, Hisoka leaned against a tree and finally withdrew his killing aura, flashing a wide grin. You didn't take the bait. I guess you're planning a sneak attack. My lovely Leo. Hisoka laughed to himself, grinning in that twisted, perverse way. Anyone witnessing it would have been horrified. Dingling dingling tilde. Suddenly, a ringtone sounded from Hisoka's pants. He answered his phone. After a pause, a gentle voice came through. Hisoka, did Leo come for you? Nope. Kinda disappointed, actually. Haha, isn't that expected? Even if Leo is as strong as you, he wouldn't duel recklessly. He'll wait until he's sure he can win, then challenge you. That's what I'd do. Yeah, I thought the same. Hisoka continued smiling. He was sure Leo wouldn't run away. Their previous encounters told Hisoka everything he needed to know about Leo. Though Leo appeared calm and gentle, Hisoka knew there was a beast inside him. Once he targeted prey, he'd do anything to take it down. Hisoka had no doubt, Leo wanted to kill him. But Leo knew how to stay low and wouldn't act until certain of victory. Hisoka, on the other hand, enjoyed the danger. The more unfavorable the odds, the more excited he became. He believed he was invincible, no matter the crisis, he could survive and eliminate any threat. On the other end, Illumi continued. Well, either way, I hope you win. You are one of my best customers, after all. You always pay well. He paused, then added. How about this, want me to assassinate Leo for you? 10 billion. Or even 5 billion, and I'll get my father and grandfather involved too. Discounted just for you. Hisoka grinned. No need. This is between him and me. I don't want outside interference. I'll win. Really? Well, good luck then. After hanging up, Hisoka's laughter grew darker, more twisted. He tilde Leo, come on. I can't wait anymore. The first day passed quietly. There were no casualties. Everyone spent the day surveying the island, learning the terrain, and finding good places to rest. These resting spots gave strategic advantages, both for offense and defense. A good hunter uses the environment as an ally. Only fools charge in blindly. On the second day, the real hunt began. Gon moved through the forest like a fish in water, blending with nature. No one spotted him. From the start, Gon sensed he was being followed. In the original timeline, Gon had focused entirely on Hisoka and missed being trailed. But now, without Hisoka as his target, he could focus more on his surroundings. Thanks to his sharp senses and jungle experience, Gon quickly lost his tail. Now, he had to find his real target, number 246, Ponzu, the only woman left. Kurapika and Killua were also doing well. Killua, naturally, was dangerous in a forest. He could kill nearly everyone except a few top-tier opponents. Kurapika, though lacking Nen and being physically weaker, had the highest IQ among them. In the Dark Continent arc, Kurapika's cunning was unmatched, just reading his plans made readers dizzy. With his sharp mind, Kurapika quickly found the three brothers with hats, tailed them silently, and waited for the perfect moment to strike. Only Leorio was struggling. He lacked strength and intelligence, but he had luck. His number plate was taken quickly, but he escaped unharmed. If he was lucky, he might bump into Kurapika, Gon, or Killua and turn things around. As for Leo, he was still quietly practicing Nen. With only 1 day left, there was no rush. If he could hold out, he'd unlock a new big move, no point exhausting himself prematurely. At the same time, Hisoka began moving. He couldn't wait any longer. Licking his lips, Hisoka narrowed his eyes and chuckled. Time to hunt. I'll enjoy some dessert before I feast on Leo. In that moment, Leo, deep in meditation, opened his eyes. He looked in Hisoka's direction and squinted slightly. So, you're finally moving. Then, Leo closed his eyes again. As long as Hisoka didn't head his way, there was nothing to worry about. As for the safety of Gon and the others, that was up to fate. After all, Leo knew he wasn't their babysitter. He couldn't protect them forever. They had chosen to be hunters. They had to be ready to die at any moment. Chapter 38. When Hisoka began to move, Leo was practicing swordsmanship in a calm and orderly manner. This time, the sword in Leo's hand was no longer wooden, it was a real blade. Unlike renowned swords with ornate decorations, Leo's sword was plain, without any patterns or embellishments. But as Leo danced with the blade, the air was sliced cleanly wherever the sword passed. Fallen leaves were split effortlessly. It was so sharp that anyone foolish enough to block it with an ordinary weapon would find their weapon destroyed, and themselves dead. When Leo finished, he flipped his hand. The sword vanished completely. Seeing this, Leo smiled and nodded. It's done. After so many days, I finally succeeded in materializing the sword. It took more than 10 days to manifest the real sword. I don't know if that's considered fast or slow. To accelerate the materialization process, Leo had streamlined the sword's design. Maybe in the future, he'd add patterns or adjust its shape to look more impressive. But for now, simplicity was enough. After all, Leo had materialized the sword mainly to perform the knight's signature move, knights do not die with bare hands. A sword that could be materialized instantly through Nen was incredibly convenient. Well, next, let's try to materialize other weapons. In Leo's mind, since a knight should be able to wield all weapons, relying on only the sword would be a waste. If, for instance, Leo were in a duel and the enemy tried to counter his swordsmanship, Leo could suddenly switch to a spear. Using the spear's reach, a cold light first, then the spear bursts like a dragon. He could stab through the opponent's head before they even reacted. Leo, capable of wielding various weapons, would surely be a nightmare for enemies. Just when someone adjusted to Leo's attack style, he would shift into an entirely different weapon master. Suddenly, Leo frowned. He sensed two auras moving toward him. He wasn't surprised. Though Leo had used Zetsu to suppress his aura and had kept far from Hisoka, others had done the same, avoiding Hisoka. Moreover, Leo had left behind traces, while practicing swordsmanship, boiling water, eating, etc. It was possible someone had discovered his presence. Soon, he sensed the two auras stop. Each hid in the woods, using foliage for cover. But to a trained Nen user, untrained people were easy to detect. After a pause, Leo glanced at the midday sun and smiled. You should go. I don't want to kill anyone right now. But the two didn't move. They just hid deeper. Leo sighed softly and looked their way. Since I'm in a good mood, I'll give you one last warning. Don't seek death. Still, the forest remained silent, only the wind rustled through the leaves. I see. So you're ready then. Leo stepped toward one of them. Just as he approached, boom tilde. A tremendous force burst through the tree, a spear hurtled straight toward Leo's face like a striking serpent. He tilted his head slightly, dodging the lethal strike. At the same moment, another figure lunged from behind, also wielding a spear, slashing horizontally at Leo's waist. The strike would have cleaved a normal man in half. But Leo didn't dodge. Instead, he raised his left hand and casually caught the incoming spear. Knights do not die with bare hands. The moment he grabbed the spear, Leo instinctively activated his technique. He twisted his hand, the rotational force transferred through the spear. Before the attacker could react, the power flung him into the air, spinning violently. Spear. That's not how you use it. With that, Leo grabbed the spear and thrust it forward at the second attacker. It looked like an ordinary stab, but when it pierced the tree, the trunk exploded open. The spear shot through the tree and impaled the man's face. Puff tilde. There was no surprise. Even if he tried to dodge or defend, Leo was too fast. In an instant, the man's forehead was pierced. His head shattered like tofu, disintegrating into pulp. Calmly, Leo turned around. He looked at the other attacker, who had fallen, unarmed, stunned. Leo recognized him. He was No. 191. He couldn't recall his name exactly, but in the original story, this man reached the final round, lost to Hisoka, and was killed by an out-of-control Killua. As for the one who was just speared through the head, he was No. 371. Leo remembered him as Illumi's target, later killed by him. Both had died because of Illumi in the original story. Now, Leo had claimed their lives. While these thoughts passed through his mind, Leo twirled the spear, then rested its tip at No. 191's neck. You shouldn't have attacked. As a spearman, you should have known you couldn't beat me. Feeling the cold steel at his throat, No. 191, Baudreau, showed a fanaticism that Leo couldn't understand. Finally, I've seen the realm of a true master of spearmanship. To feel such mastery before dying, I'll die without regret. Spearmanship was said to be the hardest of the 18 traditional weapons to master. As martial artists said, a stick takes a month, a sword a year, a spear a lifetime. The spear was the most difficult to master. Nowadays, there were many skilled boxers, swordsmen, or martial artists, but true spear masters? Rare, maybe non-existent. And once you reached that level, the strength gap between most masters, even across disciplines, was minimal. A fight between a spear master and a boxing master was unpredictable. That's why most avoided spearmanship. Why spend a lifetime mastering the spear if you could reach the same peak in boxing or swordsmanship faster? That was Baudreau's dilemma. He and another spearman had attacked Leo, hoping that the pressure would elevate their skills. Whether they died wasn't their concern. True martial artists would risk death to chase mastery. If they could improve, or witness a master's techniques, before death, they'd die smiling. Now, Baudreau was ecstatic. Though Leo could kill him at any moment, he wore only excitement on his face. Magnificent. Truly magnificent. Master Leo, how did you reach such mastery? Seeing Baudreau so obsessed, Leo shook his head. Sorry. I can't answer that. Baudreau nodded, smiling. I understand. If mastery could be taught, every martial artist would go mad pursuing it. He then reached out and gently caressed the spear he had used for years. Master Leo, I have one request, kill me with your strongest technique. My lifelong goal was to become a master. But after seeing your strike that killed Gusi, I know I'll never reach your level. So if I can die at the hands of a true spear master, under my own spear, I'll have no regrets. Clearly, Baudreau had resolved to die. When he first challenged Leo, he'd already accepted it. A true martial artist fears nothing, not even death, for the sake of mastery. Seeing this, Leo felt a deep respect. To sacrifice everything for martial arts, such conviction was admirable. Silently, Leo let go of the spear, shook his head, and walked away. As he left, his voice echoed in Baudreau's ears. "I'll spare your life, for now. If you reach mastery one day, come find me. We'll fight fairly. Life or death will be up to fate. If you never reach that realm, still come. I'll grant you the death you seek." Hearing that, Baudreau leapt up, dropped to his knees, and kowtowed 3 times toward Leo's back. "Master Leo, I won't let you down." Afterward, Baudreau said nothing. He quietly gathered his companion's remains. Staring at Goussie's crushed head, Baudreau murmured, "Goussie, you died by the hand of Master Leo, a worthy death. Rest in peace." But just as Baudreau was about to leave, a long, thin needle shot from the forest and pierced straight through Baudreau's head. Chapter 39. Puff puff puff. Then, dozens of needles flew out simultaneously. Baudreau had no time to react, his head was pierced like a hornet's nest. As Baudreau lay dead on the ground, a man with a head full of needles slowly walked out of the forest. He bent down, retrieved a number plate from Baudreau's body, and nodded lightly. "Very good. That makes 6 points." Illumi's prey was Baudreau. As for Giretta, the man who had been shot through the head by Leo, Leo had already taken his number plate before leaving. Although Leo figured he wouldn't need it, after all, if he killed Hisoka, he'd naturally obtain 6 points, keeping an extra plate just in case wouldn't hurt. Looking at the 2 corpses, Illumi turned toward the direction Leo had left and muttered, "That Leo really is a monster. Not only has he mastered swordsmanship, he's also a spear master. Good thing I made arrangements in advance and deliberately led those 2 to attack him. Now I've seen one of his hidden trump cards. If we ever fought and he suddenly switched from sword to spear, I might be caught off guard. Even I could have been stabbed to death." Among nin users, victory isn't determined by ability alone. Basic combat skills and chi control are far more crucial in a real battle. Take Netero for example, his 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva is powerful, no doubt. But its true strength lies in Netero himself. The Guanyin's movements must mirror his own. The faster Netero moves, the faster the Guanyin attacks. If you gave that ability to an ordinary nin user, their punches would be slow and weak, no threat at all. Illumi had no grudge against Leo. But to win a battle, one must know both self and enemy. Especially for assassins like him, it's critical to gather intelligence on the strong. Who knows? Someday, someone might hire him to kill one of them. From Illumi's point of view, Leo had no idea the 2 spear-wielding attackers had been deliberately sent his way. So there was no real animosity between them yet, they remained uninvolved. That's the way of a true assassin. You'll never feel their hostility until the moment of the kill. Smiling to himself, Illumi turned and disappeared back into the jungle. The 2 bodies remained, quietly lying there, until they rotted or were devoured by wild beasts. This is the price of becoming a hunter. When you choose this path, you accept your fate, rise to greatness, or be left to decay in the wilderness. There is no middle ground. Elsewhere, Leo walked alone through the forest, deep in thought. If I'm right, Illumi was hiding in the dark just now. Leo had known that one of the 2 spear users was Illumi's target. With Illumi's skill, he could have easily killed both on the first day, even if they had grouped up. But instead, Illumi let them come to Leo. Considering Leo was using Zetsu, completely concealing his aura. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to find him unless they saw him directly. So, for the two attackers to track him, either they had expert survival experience, like veteran hunters raised in the wild, or they were deliberately led there. Leo believed the latter. They were definitely guided by Illumi. Is he testing my ability? Or does he want to assassinate me? After thinking it over, Leo figured Illumi just wanted to probe his capabilities. There was no reason for Illumi to kill him. Among Leo's enemies, the only one who could possibly request Illumi's services was Hisoka. But Hisoka would never hire someone else to kill Leo. He wanted to do it himself. With that in mind, Leo smiled and shook his head. Go ahead and gather intel. I gain new abilities every week anyway. If the day ever comes when you're paid to kill me, congratulations. You'll get to experience every one of them firsthand. At night, the uninhabited island became a battleground of strategy and survival. For the strong, it was hunting time. For the weak, it was a chance to strike from the shadows. They couldn't fight openly during the day, but at night, with stealth and cunning, they could stage ambushes. To survive in darkness, one needed both wisdom and strength. Of course, this didn't apply to Leo, Hisoka, or Illumi. The three of them had transcended the game's rules. They were bound by none. Elsewhere in the darkness, Leorio and Kurapika moved cautiously, alert to every sound. To be fair, Leorio had been quite lucky. Although his number plate was stolen on the first day, he'd survived and run into Kurapika on the second. The two teamed up and managed not only to reclaim it, but even collect a few more. However, they didn't realize that while they searched for lone targets, they themselves were being hunted. Hee. Found you. Hisoka stood atop a tall tree, watching Kurapika and Leorio from afar. He licked his lips, narrowed his eyes, and smiled perversely. Before, because of Leo, I didn't get to savor you properly. Now, I'll take my time. With that, Hisoka pushed off, his slender body diving toward them like an eagle. In an instant, Kurapika and Leorio looked up in horror as Hisoka descended. But despite his speed, Hisoka made no sound when he landed. No dent. No dust. If Newton saw this, he'd crawl from his grave screaming impossible. But if one used Gyo, they'd see it, pink threads extending from Hisoka's body, anchoring him. Those threads absorbed the impact, allowing a silent, weightless landing. Seeing Hisoka suddenly appear, Kurapika and Leorio instantly drew their weapons, cold sweat on their faces. Hisoka. Hi, long time no see. Hisoka waved cheerfully, smiling like he meant no harm. Where's Leo? Isn't he with you? Hearing this, Leorio and Kurapika exhaled in relief. So he wasn't targeting them. But then, shame. They had vowed to help Leo, yet now, facing danger, they were instinctively relieved not to be involved. It made Leorio furious. I don't know where Leo is, and even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. Kurapika nodded, face firm. We're his companions. We'll never betray him. Wonderful. Your resistance, it's delightful. Hisoka's smile twisted into something darker. His eyes gleamed hungrily. Well, then. Give me all your number tags, and I'll let you go. Deal? His gaze sharpened, a glint of killing intent in his eyes. If they surrendered without resistance, Hisoka would kill them on the spot. Two cowards were worthless to him. But instead, Leorio's forehead bulged with veins. Are you kidding me, Hisoka? Just because you're strong, you think I'll roll over? Kurapika and I worked hard for these plates. You want them? Come and take them. I'll die before I suck up to scum like you. Kurapika immediately stepped in. Leorio, let me talk. Remaining calm, Kurapika met Hisoka's gaze. Hisaka, the plate you want is Leo's, number 403. So why do you want ours? If you beat Leo, you'll have your 6 points. Don't you think you can defeat him? Hisaka chuckled. Whether I can beat Leo is my concern. Whether I want your plates is also my choice. Can't I just take both? Kurapika kept his cool. Right now, Leorio and I have 4 plates. 2 are ours. 1 is Leorio's prey. That means we can only offer 1 plate worth 1 point. We won't hand over the rest, there are minimum to pass the test. If you want them. He stepped forward, brandishing his twin knives. Then take them from our corpses. Both Kurapika and Leorio stared Hisaka down, resolute. They weren't afraid to die. What scared them was becoming lowly cowards without honor. Kurapika knew that if he gave in here, he'd one day surrender to the Phantom Troop too. Once you surrender once, you do it again. And again. Until you're no one. Seeing their unwavering eyes, Hisaka licked his lips and burst out laughing. Great. Just great. You're absolutely adorable. After laughing, Hisaka calmed down and gave them a nod. Very well. You've passed my test. This time, I'll go with your offer. Leave the 1-point plate, and you may go. Kurapika and Leorio exchanged glances, then nodded. They each backed off. Kurapika slid a plate marked 118 into the gap of a nearby tree. Seeing their caution, Hisaka smirked. Don't worry, I keep my word. If I say I'll let you go, I will. After all, you're still useful alive. He didn't say the last part aloud. Watching them vanish into the distance, Hisaka finally burst out laughing again, shoulders shaking uncontrollably. Wonderful. Just wonderful. Chapter 40. Hisaka lowered his head, his deep laughter echoing as his shoulders trembled. The more I look at those two, the more delicious they are. Hisaka couldn't help swallowing, saliva spilling from his mouth as if he were savoring a delicacy. But they're still too green. Green apples look good, but ripe apples taste better. I must be patient. Wait until the day they mature. At that thought, Hisaka's murderous aura erupted, unable to be suppressed any longer. He had been bottling it up to fight Leo, building it deep inside, so when unleashed, it would be overwhelming. Now, after being teased by Kurapika and Leorio, he could hold back no longer. Chirping tilde. The once quiet forest erupted with rustling and shrieks. Birds and beasts fled in all directions. Every creature was thrown into a frenzy by Hisaka's killing intent, desperately escaping his presence. Ah! No. I can't hold it anymore. I want to kill. I want to kill. The desire for blood overwhelmed Hisaka's mind. At this point, he didn't care who it was, as long as someone appeared before him, they would become prey. All across the uninhabited island, the remaining examinees felt Hisaka's overwhelming aura. They cursed in fear. That pervert Hisaka has gone insane again. This murderous aura. Does he want to wipe out everyone on the island? Even while cursing, everyone fled as far from Hisaka as possible. Only 2 people remained calm. Illumi, having already acquired the number plate he needed, had hidden underground, planning to rest for the next few days. Though a killer, the Zoldyck family didn't kill for fun. Unless provoked, they saw unnecessary killing as inefficient. Meanwhile, Leo also felt Hisaka's murderous intent. He narrowed his eyes slightly. So, you finally couldn't hold it in. You want to go on a killing spree? Leo glanced at his system panel. Ding tilde. At that moment, a pleasant voice echoed in his soul. Congratulations to the host for successfully checking in for 1 week. Reward, special move, Getsuga Tensho, Bankai version. Warmth surged through Leo's body, and the technique's details flowed into his mind. Feeling the changes, Leo opened his character panel. Date, January 13, 1999 Day of check-in, 14 Host, Leo Age, 26 Total Nen Energy, 3242 Nature of Ability, Special Nen Techniques. Knights do not die with bare hands, 1000 Shinra Tensei, 500 Getsuga Tensho, Bankai, 10,000 Getsuga Tensho, Bankai version, from the Bleach universe. Consumes 10,000 Nen to unleash crescent-shaped black sword energy, launched from the blade. Range, up to 500 meters. Base power, can split mountains and crack the earth. Each additional 1,000 Nen increases range by 50 meters and power by 10%. Maximum power and range, unlimited. Seeing the massive upgrade to his panel, Leo's glasses reflected a glint of awe. Strong. This is unbelievably strong. I actually signed in the ultimate move, Getsuga Tensho. This was the ultimate attack of Bleach's protagonist, Ichigo Kurosaki. Especially in its Bankai form, even the Ant King would be gravely injured, or possibly killed, if struck head-on. Realistically, outside the Dark Continent, the Hunter x Hunter universe couldn't compare to Bleach in raw power scaling. Even the weakest Bleach captains could destroy mountains with a single attack. The strongest, like Yamamoto Genryusai, had a Bankai capable of world destruction. Leo didn't know how strong Dark Continent creatures were, but within the known human world, they couldn't compare. Aluka doesn't count. Her wish-granting is beyond conventional power scaling. But, though Getsuga Tensho, Bankai is powerful, its energy cost is ridiculous. It took 10,000 Nen per use. Leo only had about 3,000 right now. If not for the system granting him 3 free ultimate skill uses per day, he'd just be standing there watching. He took a deep breath and looked in Hisoka's direction, his bloodlust lit up the night like a beacon. 3 free Getsuga Tensho strikes. Let's see how many lives you've got, Hisoka. No longer concealing his presence, Leo vanished in a flash, speeding toward Hisoka's aura. Meanwhile, Hisoka rampaged through the forest, desperate to kill anyone in his path, he'd kill. But the moment he sensed Leo, his bloodlust vanished. He snapped out of his frenzy instantly. Against ordinary people, Hisoka allowed himself to be guided by bloodlust and instinct, they posed no threat. But against someone like Leo, he needed complete rationality. Even a moment of madness would mean instant death. Feeling Leo drawing closer, Hisoka grinned, and moved toward the source. Everyone else on the island was stunned. Suddenly, Hisoka's killing intent vanished. The whole island fell silent. Still, no one dared to slow down. They kept running toward the perimeter. Whatever happened, they had to stay away from Hisoka. Because of that, when Leo and Hisoka finally met, there was no one else within a kilometer. As they saw each other, both laughed. Hisoka laughed wildly, with a crazed expression. Ah, Leo. I've missed you so much. These past days without you, I've longed to kill you, to tear you apart. Leo grinned back. Really? I feel the same. I want to kill you, too. Leo had only one thought when it came to Hisoka, kill him. There was no dramatic backstory. No revenge for murdered family. No tragic vendetta. Leo just wanted to kill Hisoka, because Hisoka wanted to kill him. To Hisoka, fighting a worthy opponent to the death was the ultimate joy. Watching a talented fighter grow, then killing them, that was bliss. Once Hisoka saw Leo's potential, he made him his next kill. And he wouldn't stop until Leo was dead. So Leo had no choice, Hisoka had to die. Only a dead Hisoka was a safe Hisoka. They locked eyes, and understood everything. This was a death match. Only one would survive. In a flash, an ordinary sword appeared in Leo's right hand. His aura surged. The aura of a sword master combined with Nen mastery made Leo's presence razor sharp. Even without Gyo, Hisoka could feel the slicing pressure against his skin. As if, in the next second, he'd be carved to pieces. In response, Hisoka unleashed his full aura. His twisted energy clashed against Leo's sharp intent. The next moment, Leo vanished. When he reappeared, his sword was already at Hisaka's face. But Hisaka was fast, too. He snapped backward, yanked away by something unseen, disappearing into the forest. At the same time, playing cards rained toward Leo like knives. Leo didn't block them, he dodged. He knew Hisaka's ability too well. Bungee gum, with both elasticity and stickiness. In a dense forest, it could be used to incredible effect. If Leo struck the cards, bungee gum could stick to his sword. And once that happened, Hisaka only had to immobilize the sword, then victory would be his. As Leo evaded, Hisaka's voice echoed from all directions. "Leo, seems like you've figured out how my ability works. But what good will that do you? This forest is my playground." With that, Hisaka's figure zipped through the woods, too fast to see. Suddenly, a massive tree snapped in half and crashed toward Leo. This time, Leo sliced it cleanly. But the next second, countless cards came flying from every direction. This was Hisaka's real aim: force Leo to make a move, then strike the moment he showed an opening. Chapter 41. This time, facing the countless playing cards launched by Hisaka, Leo did not dodge. He swung the sword in his hand, forming a dense net of blades around himself. The moment the cards touched the sword net, they were shredded into countless pieces. However, at that moment, Leo clearly felt his sword grow heavier. Looking closely, he saw that several strands of pink bungee gum had wrapped around the blade. As the threads suddenly tightened, a powerful force yanked on the sword, trying to tear it from Leo's grasp. Without hesitation, Leo willed the sword to dissipate. It vanished into aura. More playing cards came raining down, attacking from all directions. Seeing this, Leo didn't panic. He simply sighed inwardly. Just as I thought. It's not easy to trick Hisaka into close combat. He activated Shinra Tensei. A massive repulsive force exploded outward from him in a perfect circle. Everything within 10 meters was flattened. The ground peeled away, trees splintered, and the rain of playing cards was blown dozens of meters back. For a moment, the entire world went silent. At least within 10 meters, nothing could obstruct Leo now. Hisaka could no longer hide in the shadows, using distance and terrain to his advantage. When Hisaka didn't appear inside that cleared radius, Leo exhaled softly. "Still so cautious, Hisaka? Are you that afraid of fighting me head-on?" Hisaka's laugh echoed from all directions, his body still nowhere in sight. Hee. "Leo, you never fail to amaze me. The more we fight, the more mysterious you become. At first, from your nen abilities, I thought you were a mission type. But your personality isn't like an emission user. Not brash, impatient, or short-tempered. Instead, you act like a specialist. You've got leadership. Your companions, only with you for days, are already willing to die for you. So I wonder, are you truly a mission type? Or is that a ruse? Are you actually a specialist?" Leo smiled faintly. "Why not find out for yourself? Or can't you? Is this all you've got, long-range tricks?" He let out a disappointed sigh, taunting. "To be honest, Hisaka, you're a coward. I expected more. A real warrior would face me directly. Your schemes won't work on me." The provocation worked. Moments later, Hisaka stepped from the trees. Seeing him, Leo narrowed his eyes slightly, and smiled. "Oh? No more hiding." Hisaka spread his arms and shrugged. "Leo, you're right. After that last exchange, I realized I can only learn your true strength by fighting face to face. Even if it's risky." Leo didn't respond. He simply observed. Sure enough, pink bungee gum threads surrounded Hisaka, strung across trees and stones. At a single command, they could whip objects toward Leo. Typical Hisaka. The liar. Pretending to fight directly, but still planning to distract and exploit an opening. This was Hisaka's style. Technically, his nen wasn't strong. Its offensive capability was weak. If an average person had bungee gum, it would seem practically useless. But Hisoka, with his experience and intelligence, weaponized it. Its trickiness made it easy to misjudge. And in a high-level fight, one misjudgment, one opening, was all he needed to kill. But if I hit hard enough that Hisoka has no room for games, he becomes nothing. With that thought, Leo rematerialized his sword. He stared at Hisoka with the cold gaze of a reaper. Feeling that look, Hisoka instantly tensed. He'd appeared before Leo only to bluff, pretending to close the gap. If Leo took the bait, Hisoka would unleash his setup to break his rhythm and force an error. As long as Leo made no clear mistake, Hisoka wouldn't engage directly. But what's with that look? Could his real ability kill me instantly? Hisoka released his full aura, staring hard, excitement building. This mortal danger made his adrenaline spike. He was euphoric. Perfect. This is perfect. Leo, it's thrilling to be your enemy. Use it, use your real power. As soon as you do, you'll show an opening. And then, I strike. Hisoka waited with a smile, watching. He knew every nen ability had a weakness. His own was weak but flexible, useful in countless ways. But high-power abilities always had limitations. Like Netero's 100 type Guanyin, insanely strong, but only if you had Netero's speed. Like Killua's lightning, immensely strong, but consumed power fast and needed recharging. Even with energy, he still needed external power to sustain it. Hisoka was counting on this. If he survived Leo's first strike and saw the ability's limits, he'd exploit that opening and kill him. That's why he didn't run. Hiding again wouldn't expose Leo's strength. As Leo raised his sword, his aura swelled. Nen gathered at the blade, forming a black vortex. Describing it takes time, but it all happened in an instant. He raised the blade, swung, and released it. Getsuga Tensho. Boon tilde. A black crescent wave burst from his sword. In a flash, the energy expanded into a massive arc, tens of meters long. Everything it touched disintegrated. Nothing could stop it. Seeing the blast coming, Hisoka's eyes nearly bulged from their sockets. No. Impossible. What the hell is this ability? For the first time, Hisoka felt true fear. That attack radiated death. He knew, if it hit, he'd die. No chance of survival. Instantly, all his hidden threads pulled tight. He flung himself backward, and even hurled boulders and trees into the air to block it. It was useless. The black wave vaporized everything. It moved faster than sound. Before Hisoka had fully escaped the blast radius, it had already cut through him. Rumble tilde. Across the island, everyone stared in horror at the black arc. Where it passed, the earth split. Mountains crumbled. Rivers dried. Everything vanished. Only after 500 meters did the energy dissipate. What was that? Some kind of nuclear bomb? This is a Hunter exam. What the hell is going on? No one knew. Even the examiners, who monitored the island non-stop, were frozen at their stations. Their screens showed only one thing. A single black blade of energy carving through the island. Even seasoned professional hunters couldn't comprehend that level of power. Quick! Report to Chairman Netero. Now. Panic gripped the Hunter exam staff. And meanwhile, Leo was preparing a second Getsuga Tensho. Because Hisoka was still alive. Chapter 42. It must be said, Hisoka is truly worthy of that reputation. He actually dodged the Bankai version of Getsuga Tensho. But he looked embarrassed. His left hand and left foot were gone, he could only stand on one leg, like a wobbly golden rooster. He stared at Leo, disbelief etched across his face. Is that your hidden true ability? Impossible, absolutely impossible. In Hisoka's mind, Leo's true nen ability might be strong, but powerful enough to seriously injure him in one strike? No way. Even if he could hold it, he'd find its weakness, and plan accordingly. But this was beyond his imagination. Getsuga Tensho was powerful, fast, and had an enormous range, virtually instant. That breach of expectation rattled Hisaka. Thinking, he no longer hesitated, he discreetly sent a text message from his phone. Seeing Hisaka's stunned face, Leo didn't explain that his ultimate move wasn't telekinesis, but nen-driven. He silently summoned Black Sword energy again. This time, the attack came horizontally, a crescent wave slicing toward Hisaka. Startled, Hisaka leapt. Despite missing limbs, he surged upward using nen, easily rising tens of meters. But as he jumped, Leo released a second crescent strike, this time forming a cross with the first. One horizontal, one vertical, trapping Hisaka in the center. No escape in the air or on the ground. Feeling death closing in, Hisaka laughed ecstatically. Is this death? It's incredible, to die by your hand, Leo, it's wonderful. Hisaka calmly awaited his fate because he knew Leo's power was too overwhelming. His limbs gone, suspended midair, trees and boulders shattered around him, no shackles of nen or nen-laced ropes could help. With no hope and no escape, Hisaka surrendered to death. Puff 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 tilde. But suddenly, long, slender needles pierced his body. The force knocked him sideways. Boom tilde. The cross-shaped black energy wave swept through, obliterating everything within 500 meters in front. By the time the blade faded, all that remained were two massive fissures stretching 500 meters across. All topography, mountains, trees, rivers, vanished. And Hisaka was gone. Staring at the barren landscape, Leo frowned and whispered, "Illumi." He had seen Hisaka moments before the blast, but Illumi's intervention saved him. If Illumi hadn't knocked Hisaka away, Hisaka would have been caught in full blast. Even though Leo could have chased, he stopped, hesitating at Illumi's unknown intentions. He already used all three free ultimate strikes, plus his remaining energy on Knights Do Not Die with Bare Hands and Shinra Tensei. He still had nen, but was prepared to chase only Illumi, not continuing after Hisaka right now. Leo sneered. "Illumi, has the Zolda clan raised your arrogance so high? Daring to snatch my prey, help Hisaka escape? Very well, soon I'll personally storm the Zoldyck estate. And then I'll see who dares to save you." In a nearby forest, Hisaka leaned against a tree, a perverse smile on his face despite missing limbs. Hee. Amazing. This is the thrill of escaping death. I never expected that I, Hisaka, could ever experience that desperation. Hisaka had always believed himself invincible. He had never known defeat, he was always the killer, never the killed. He thrived on danger, on the passion of battle, on flirting with death. And today, he faced the true edge. He believed if Illumi hadn't intervened, he'd have died. You're so casual for someone who survived death, Hisaka. A young man with waist-length hair emerged from the trees. His face was handsome, but his eyes were empty, void. As if life meant nothing to him. Hisaka looked utterly miserable. He'd lost limbs, his right half was shredded by Getsuga Tensho. Though Illumi's needles had pulled him clear, most of his body had been torn apart. His right arm gone, and half his chest sliced open, his internal organs floated loosely with each breath. A normal person would have bled out before losing their first lung. But Hisaka's nen ability halted the bleeding and stabilized his wounds, spared his vital organs. He lived, but without treatment, he'd die soon. Eyeless Illumi nodded coldly. You're welcome. You promised 1 billion, after all. Saving your life is my duty. The text Hisaka had sent earlier, to Illumi, had offered the money, just in case he lost to Leo. Hisaka leaned wearily against the tree, managing a wry smile. Illumi, you must have made a loss this time. Leo is incredibly strong. If he finds out you saved me, He might crash into the Zoldyck Manor. You know how powerful Leo is, right? Ridiculous? Illumi remained expressionless. Let him come. The Zoldycks fear nothing. Once money is counted, anyone outside the family can be killed. Outsiders don't know. For Illumi, the Zoldyck family is terrifying. After watching the war between Leo and Hisoka, Illumi realized, even 6 generations of Zoldycks, plus Maha Zoldyck, the centuries-old head, may still struggle to beat Leo. Even unleashing Aluka wouldn't guarantee victory. No matter how strong Leo is, human he remains. Humans cannot match monsters. This is why Illumi is not afraid of Leo. Still, that doesn't mean he provokes him. Even Zoldycks who fear no one know when to hide. Chapter 43. Hisoka, what are you going to do next? Are you going to stay in this hunter exam? Illumi looked at the gravely injured Hisoka, clearly near death. Hisoka still had the ability to fight and could easily kill normal Nen-less examinees. But if he remained here, Leo would definitely not let him escape. Most would withdraw and flee. But Hisoka was no ordinary man. Even Illumi couldn't understand him. Hisoka chuckled. I'll stay. If there's a chance to assassinate Leo, I'll take it. But for now, we retreat. I need to heal, then I'll play my game with him. He licked his lips, his expression wild and cruel. After seeing Leo's true strength, Hisoka understood he couldn't win in a straight-up fight. But that didn't matter. If he couldn't win head-on, he'd assassinate. As long as Leo died by his hand, he'd be victorious. A win is only a win when the other is dead. Still, knowing Leo's power gave even Hisoka hesitation. How had Leo used that flawless, invincible energy? That black blade. It seems like an emission ability, but that doesn't fit. Emission users are rash and wild. But Leo, he's calm. That's specialist territory. Hisoka bowed his head, puzzled. Illumi noted this. Clearly, he realized Hisoka had underestimated Leo. He nodded quietly. Indeed. Good luck, Hisoka. I'm resuming the exam, so I'll be off. With that, Illumi turned and left. Hisoka lowered his head, shoulders trembling with a cruel smile. Hee, Leo, I look forward to our next meeting. The clash between Leo and Hisoka sent shockwaves through the island. Everyone who survived trembled in fear. They'd all seen the 3 sweeping blackout arcs that could utterly obliterate anything. Even at 1,000 meters away, that destructive presence chilled them to the bone. They had no idea what it was, but many assumed it was some kind of top-secret weapon, not Nen. In modern times, even seasoned hunters knew how devastating nuclear weapons were, and they assumed these could only be on par. Who the hell brought one of these? Are they trying to kill us all? What about the hunter exam's no guns rule? If this isn't shut down, there won't be another test. The survivors fumed, though they weren't sure if the association could hear them. Soon, an airship descended near Leo and Hisoka's battlefield. Netero disembarked and surveyed the damage. He gasped in awe. What power! Even I might not survive that. In raw destructive force, Getsuga Tensho, Wankai exceeded his 100-style Guanyin. But if Netero had to fight Leo one-on-one, Leo might never get the chance to activate that move. Netero was that fast and precise. Even if Leo survived the first strike, he'd be critically injured. Menki, Satots, Boara, and other examiners emerged from the airship. They stared, stunned, Nen users all. They understood the magnitude of power required to do this through Nen alone. President, was this really Leo? Menki asked, half in relief. She'd tangled with him before, and was grateful to have survived. Yes. From the residue. It's Leo. He's astonishing, Netero replied, stroking his beard. I thought he was merely a kendo master. But his skill. It's the best in the world. Menki and the others exchanged shocked glances. The best in the world? Indeed, replied Netero. Suyi, I mean, Leo, is incomparable. Menki pressed further. If you fought him, President, who would win? Netero smiled, eyes glinting. I don't know. I'm 120 now, my speed and endurance aren't what they once were. In youth, maybe I'd be invincible. But now, it would be tough. Before she could question more, a voice cut through. President, you're too modest. Who is stronger than you? I'm not even close. All eyes turned to Leo, who walked calmly toward them. Tall, handsome, dignified, he looked like a hero in every way. If he'd impressed them before, now, he towered above them. Even his appearance revealed traces of the battle, but his poise was unwavering. Inwardly, Netero thought. No wonder he hides his power so well. His control over Nen and body. Phenomenal. I'm far below him. Netero smiled wryly as he addressed Leo. Leo, with power like yours, this test is too easy. I can use my privilege to pass you automatically. What do you say? As president, Netero had the authority, but usually, such decisions met resistance. Not for Leo. Leo considered it, nodding thoughtfully. Then he spoke, eyes sharp. Where's Hisaka? Is he alive? If he's still here, I'll continue the exam. I won't leave until he's dead. Okay. Short pause. Hope you're enjoying the fanfic. Did you know, the Chimera Ant arc was almost scrapped? Togashi once said it became too big and dark, and it almost derailed the manga permanently. Okay, let's keep going. Chapter 44. Hearing Leo's words, Netero, Menki, and the others were taken aback. From that one sentence, they sensed Leo's vengeful resolve. Whoever dared provoke him would face death, either he, or the enemy. That marked him as someone not to be trifled with. Menki looked at Leo with tears in her eyes. She regretted her earlier attitude. If she could, she'd slap her past self. It would have been better to let Leo pass the test, her pettiness had been foolish. Now, she feared she'd earned Leo's resentment. The only reason he hadn't harmed her was to preserve the integrity of the exam. Once he became a hunter, he might come back to settle the score. She pressed her lip and resolved. When you're free next time, I'll apologize. Properly. For now, she couldn't bring herself to speak out loud, but the intention was there. Netero stroked his beard. Hisaka hasn't filed a withdrawal from the exam. Even if he tried to, we wouldn't accept it. He may still be here, injured or fleeing the island. You know Hisaka, even gravely wounded, he can escape. Leo nodded. Then I'll continue the test. If Hisaka remains, our paths will cross again. Netero's expression turned solemn as he addressed Leo. If possible, avoid using such devastating moves. Not here, and especially not in the outside world. I'll cover up today's incident, saying an undetected new weapon was used. Society fears people with your strength. Ordinary folk can panic at the sight of a building clearing attack. Leo understood. Though Nen users held power, the wider world took fear seriously. No matter how strong one was, a nuclear strike could end them in seconds. People with Nen usually remained hidden to avoid provoking nations. That's why the Hunter Association was crucial, capturing evil Nen users before things escalated. But someone like Leo, capable of mass destruction, must be kept secret. Otherwise, governments might move to eliminate him. Netero nodded at Leo's understanding. Good. Then I won't stop you from continuing the exam. But I hope, if fate allows, we may someday have a proper duel. Ever since I became the world's strongest, I've had no worthy opponent. At that, Leo's eyes sparked. He returned Netero's smile. I look forward to the day we fight, President. Leo knew he wasn't Netaro's equal yet. Even with Getsuga Tensho, Netaro could likely intercept it before release. His speed was legendary. Only beings like the Ant King, with massive defenses, might withstand his palm strike. As the examiners boarded the airship, Leo breathed quietly. One day, I'll reach that realm. He slipped into the forest, far from the bustle, and planned to wait. Tomorrow, he'd regain 3 free ultimate uses, and then he'd find Hisoka again. That was Leo, cautious, methodical, never acting without certainty. Suddenly, Netaro's voice boomed across the island. All examinees, please remain calm. A candidate brought in a new type of weapon, violating rules. That candidate has been eliminated on sight. This incident will not recur. Continue the test. Examinees sighed in relief. Good. I'm glad they're gone. We nearly died, if he'd stayed. Who had a tech weapon? Probably Hisoka. I'd have been toast. Despite ignorance of Nen, they knew one thing: they didn't want to meet Hisoka again. To them, Hisoka killed freely. Leo, though powerful, didn't kill without reason. Freed from fear, many grew bolder. They flocked toward Leo and Hisoka's battlefield, gasping at the flattened forest and the deep fissures. What power? Was it some tech weapon? Thank the gods we were far away. Observing their trembling retreated back to safety, quietly. In the forest, Killua stared at the 500 meters wide devastation, his body trembling. He couldn't use Nen, but he felt the aura. That wasn't tech, it was Nen. Anybody's Nen, even my brother's. This was multiple times stronger. Thinking of Illumi, fear suffocated him. Only Illumi could scare Killua. Not even his mother, father, or grandfather frightened him as much. Suddenly, 3 figures appeared behind Killua. Chapter 45. There were 3 men wearing hats. They hid in the dark, staring at Killua not far away, secretly delighted in their hearts. Finally found you, Killua, number 99. Killua, number 99, was the prey of one of the 3 brothers. When they drew this number, they couldn't contain their excitement. Killua was just a child. In the eyes of the 3 brothers, he had only made it this far by following Leo, the big boss. After all, Killua followed Leo, not to mention a child. Even a dog tied to him could have made it here smoothly. Although they thought Killua's strength was negligible and very weak, they remained cautious. Rather than attacking immediately, they chose to stay hidden. As soon as Killua showed a flaw, they would pounce like vicious dogs. At this time, Killua's trembling body had calmed. After all, he wasn't facing Leo's wrath directly, so he wasn't too paralyzed with fear. Especially when he sensed the aura of the 3 people behind him, a dangerous and indifferent expression crossed his face. At that moment, Killua resembled a frightened beast, ready to lash out at the slightest provocation. He didn't turn around, but continued to stare at the messy battlefield ahead and said in a low voice, "I'm in a bad mood right now, so don't push me. If you drop your number plates and leave, I'll let you go. I keep my word." The 3 were stunned at first, then looked at each other and laughed. "Hey, little guy, if you want to threaten someone, grow a few more years first. With that tiny frame, who do you think you're scaring?" Exactly. If you don't want to die, hand over your number plate already. Kids these days really need a beating. They laughed and stood up. The leader confidently stepped in front of Killua, raising a hand to slap him. If a child doesn't listen, just beat them. If once isn't enough, then twice. They loved bullying kids the most. However, the next second, blood splattered. An arm flew high into the air and landed in Killua's hand. The man who'd raised his hand to strike Killua immediately collapsed to his knees, screaming in pain. My hand! My hand, ah! His right arm had been severed at the elbow. Blood gushed out, painting a gruesome scene. Big brother. Seeing their eldest brother's arm severed, the two younger brothers panicked and tried to rush forward. Killua casually tossed the severed hand in front of them and glared fiercely at the remaining two. Don't move. Move again, and you'll all die. Feeling Killua's terrifying eyes and murderous aura, the two men froze in place, not daring to budge. The murderous intent exuding from Killua made it clear, he was a true killer, not someone small-time like them. I won't say it again. Hand over all your number plates. And you, stop screaming. It's just an arm. You're not dead yet. Killua's icy words pierced their hearts like frozen needles. The man with the broken arm bit his lips and sobbed quietly. He wasn't a pervert like Hisoka, who would smile even if both arms were broken. For normal people, the pain of a severed arm would bring anyone to tears. Under Killua's pressure, the three didn't dare hesitate. They quickly tossed over their number plates. They had seen it clearly, though Killua was a child, his strength was immeasurable. They couldn't even figure out how he'd severed their brother's arm. That kind of strength, combined with his ruthlessness, snuffed out any thoughts of resistance. Silently, Killua picked up the number plates, 197, 198, and 199. He nodded. Number 199 was his prey, and 198 belonged to Kurapika. Though Killua and Kurapika weren't close, certainly not like Gon, they were teammates. So he took it. As for 197, Killua kept it. If Gon couldn't gather enough points, he'd give him this number plate. With that thought, Killua ignored the brothers and left on his own. When facing the strong, Killua was cautious. But against the weak, he bullied them. Killua was someone who feared the strong and preyed on the weak. After Killua left, the eldest brother couldn't help but cry out again. Ah! My hand, my hand! His younger brothers quickly picked up the severed hand and asked in worry. Big brother, what should we do? There's no hospital here. Your hand's gone. If it's not reattached soon, it'll be permanently lost. The eldest, still their leader, gritted his teeth, cold sweat running down his face as he gasped. Withdraw. We'll withdraw immediately. The Hunter Association staff are here. If we back out now, they'll accept it. Their number plates were gone, passing the test was now nearly impossible. It made more sense to quit now and reattach the arm. If they couldn't become hunters this year, there was always next year. But a lost arm was gone forever. Still, the two younger brothers hesitated. But big brother, we're not allowed to withdraw at this stage. Even if we want to, the Hunter Association won't agree. The eldest stood up with effort, glaring ferociously at the airship hovering over the uninhabited island. Don't worry. They'll agree. We weren't allowed to withdraw earlier because of Hunter Association rules. But someone violated those rules, brought in terrifying high-tech weapons. The Hunter Association failed to catch it, so they're at fault for poor oversight. If we push that point, they'll definitely let us quit. To be fair, anyone who reached this stage of the Hunter exam had high intelligence. Compared to past test takers, they simply lacked luck. If their target hadn't been Killua, but someone else, they might have passed. That's luck. And luck is crucial for hunters. Sure enough, when the three brothers reached Leo and Hisoka's battlefield and loudly declared they wanted to withdraw, the Hunter Association hesitated briefly and then agreed. After all, they had already blamed Leo and admitted fault this time. A mistake demands compensation. Allowing withdrawals was part of that. Their departure didn't affect anything. No one else withdrew. Without Hisoka's threat, nobody was in mortal danger. So why quit? Might as well keep stealing number plates. With some luck, they might pass and become hunters. Time passed slowly. In the blink of an eye, 6 days had passed since entering the uninhabited island. During those days, Leo wasn't idle. Each day, he activated his hand-to-hand knight's death and expanded his end to the limit, trying to scour the entire island. Hisaka, that pervert, Leo couldn't rest easy until he was dead and his body confirmed. But no matter how hard he searched, Leo found no trace of Hisaka. That freak seemed to have vanished completely. Could Hisaka have really escaped the island? Leo frowned. For most, escape was nearly impossible. But with Hisaka's abilities, he might really have slipped away without anyone noticing. Thinking of this, Leo sighed deeply. Only 1 day left. If I still can't find Hisaka. His eyes sharpened. Then even if I have to search the world, I will kill him. Chapter 46. While Leo was searching for Hisaka all over the island, Gon also encountered trouble. In a hidden cave on the island, Gon was eating roasted snake meat while looking toward the cave's exit. He tried throwing a piece of snake meat outside. In an instant, countless venomous snakes emerged, completely blocking the cave exit. The piece of meat was quickly devoured by one of them. Ah! So annoying. Why won't these snakes leave? Gon sighed helplessly and turned to look at a girl sitting not far away. She was a petite girl with a fluffy hat and long green hair, and a very cute face. But she appeared resigned to her fate, leaning against the cave wall with blank, dazed eyes. The girl's name was Ponzu, her number plate was 246, and she was also Gon's designated target. Thanks to Leo's reminder, Gon knew Ponzu was his prey. On the first day, he had closely followed her into the cave. But unexpectedly, the cave had already been occupied by someone else, and both fell into a trap. Hey! Why aren't you worried at all? We've been trapped here for 6 days. If no one finds us, we might die in here. Hearing Gon's voice, Ponzu's eyes regained some focus. She looked toward a spot not far from her. There, a man lay slumped against the wall. But the vacant look in his eyes and the foul odor from his body made it clear, he was dead. His face, neck, and hands were swollen with large lumps. Some dead bodies of poisonous bees were scattered around him. Clearly, the man had been stung to death by poisonous bees. It's useless. These venomous snakes were trained by that snake charmer. Anyone trying to leave will be attacked by them. Unless they starve, they won't leave in search of food. Otherwise, we'll never get out. Despite this, Ponzu didn't seem despairing, just resigned. She sighed and said, "Still, we won't be trapped forever. When the time comes, the Hunter Association will check the island for survivors. Then we'll get out naturally. But if that happens, I won't be able to become a hunter, right?" Gon clenched his teeth and stared at the dead snake charmer, preparing to move closer. He believed the snake charmer must have had a way to control the snakes. He remembered once seeing a circus performer on Whale Island using a flute to charm snakes. But just as Gon moved closer, countless venomous snakes emerged around the body. If he dared to approach, he'd be swarmed and bitten to death. Give up. Even if you get his tools, what good will it do? Do you know how to use them? What if you use them wrong and provoke the snakes into actively attacking you instead? You'll die before help arrives. But Ponzu's words only made Gon more resolute. No matter what, I have to become a hunter. Gon walked toward the snake charmer with renewed determination. Besides, the snake charmer must have the antidote. Even if I can't control the snakes, if I have the antidote, I can make a run for it. Seeing Gon draw dangerously close, Ponzu shouted in panic. "Hey! Don't do something stupid. You idiot, you'll die." But Gon ignored her shouting. Once he set his mind to something, he would see it through, no matter the risk. When Gon's hand reached the dead snake charmer's chest, Hiss. Countless snakes surged toward him, fangs bared. Within seconds, Gon was covered head to toe in venomous snakes. Even so, he struggled to search the body for the antidote and snake-controlling tools. Watching, Panzu cursed under her breath. You idiot. You're asking for death. If you can't pass this hunter exam, then try again next time. But Gon still didn't speak. Or rather, he couldn't. His mouth was already covered in snake bites, he couldn't move. Found it. Suddenly, Gon's eyes lit up. He pulled out a glass vial and a syringe. But just as he was about to retrieve them completely, his body suddenly stopped moving. His eyelids grew heavy, and he collapsed. Yet even in that moment, Gon used his last strength to roll the vial and syringe toward Panzu. Please. Please. Looking at the antidote that Gon had desperately obtained, Panzu stepped forward and picked up the serum and syringe, staring down at Gon's motionless body. This kid. Is he an idiot? How am I supposed to give you an injection? She tried to get closer, but the snakes coiled tighter around Gon's body. As soon as she neared, the snakes hissed warningly. Their behavior made her hair stand on end, and she froze. Clearly, the dead snake charmer had given the snakes 3 commands. 1. No one can leave the cave. 2. No one can approach the snake charmer's body. 3. Anyone bitten by the snake should be treated as the snake charmer himself, no one is allowed near them either. It was obviously a mechanism to prevent others from rescuing his prey. Only he could command them. Unfortunately, he spent his life with venomous snakes and didn't expect to die from their sting. Watching this, Panzu shook her head helplessly. What a pity. Your courage only got you killed. What a stupid kid. You're right. Gon really is stupid. Suddenly, a voice entered Panzu's ears, making her freeze. That voice was unmistakable. All Hunter exam participants feared the person it belonged to. If you encountered him, the only option was to run. Then, Panzu witnessed a scene she would never forget. The countless snakes were shredded and smashed as if crushed by an invisible force. They turned into a bloody rain and minced meat. All the snakes at the cave entrance were plastered to the walls. The stench was overwhelming, Panzu felt nauseated. But a man stepped forward through the gore, entering the cave. Not a drop of blood touched his clothes, as though he existed in a separate, untouched realm. El Leo. Panzu leaned against the wall in fear, swallowing nervously and watching him warily. Leo ignored her and looked at the dying Gon, gently shaking his head. Let this be a lesson. Don't be so reckless next time. For the past few days, Leo had been using N to search for Hisoka and had naturally noticed Gon's situation. But he hadn't intervened. Gon was too naive and simple, completely unaware of the world's dangers. It was good for him to suffer a little. As long as he didn't die or become disabled, Mito wouldn't have any complaints. Turning to Panzu, Leo held out his hand, palm up, and said calmly, "Give it to me." Panzu blinked, then obediently handed over the antidote and syringe, staring at Leo with curiosity. Leo injected the serum into Gon's body. The nearby snakes were crushed into pulp by invisible force the moment they slithered close. Watching in awe, Panzu couldn't help but whisper, Handsome guy, can I ask a question? How did you do that? Is it some kind of superpower?" After the injection, Leo looked at Panzu's innocent face. Remembering her fate from the original story, killed and eaten by chimera ants, he couldn't help but say, "If possible, don't go wandering in the wilderness anymore. You'll die." Chapter 47. Ah? Panzu widened her eyes in surprise. After hearing this, her cheeks puffed up, and she glared angrily at Leo. "Are you looking down on me? I'm strong too." Perhaps because she knew Leo was extremely powerful, Panzu refused to be belittled by him. She pointed at the dead, foul-smelling snake charmer and snorted. "Did you see that? I killed him. I'm not weak." In truth, Panzu hadn't intended to kill the snake charmer. Her poisonous bees were generally not lethal, they only caused swelling at most. But it turned out the snake charmer was allergic to bee venom. A severe allergic reaction can be fatal. So, strictly speaking, he wasn't killed by the bees directly, but by his own immune system. Seeing that Panzu dared talk back, Leo shot her a glance and said nothing more. They weren't friends, his warning was already a courtesy. Whether she heeded it was no concern of his. As he thought this, Jian began to stir. Ordinary people bitten this severely by venomous snakes would take at least 10 days or more to recover, even with antivenom. But Jian's recovery ability bordered on monstrous. As long as the toxins were neutralized, he could recover quickly. Even the bite marks across his body were already healing. This abnormal healing rate was characteristic of an enhancement-type Nen user. Though Jian had not yet awakened Nen, he could unconsciously use Zetsu, suppressing his aura completely. Zetsu greatly aids physical recovery. Additionally, Jian carried the blood of the Freak's family, a line believed to descend from a legendary being who once roamed the Dark Continent and might still be alive. As a descendant of such a monster, Jian's recovery powers were naturally beyond ordinary. "Whoa! I'm alive!" Jian opened his eyes, sat up, and within moments was bouncing around, full of energy. But upon seeing Leo's handsome face and the syringe in his hand, he wilted like a flower, head hanging low, bracing to be scolded. "Leo, why are you here?" Leo snorted, crossing his arms and staring down at him coldly. "If I didn't come, you'd be dead. Reckless. Impulsive. You never think of consequences or use your head. You call this being a hunter?" After a pause, Leo added with a lighter tone. "I know you won't reflect. No matter how much I say, it won't get through. That's just your personality, it won't change. But I'll say this, always think about the consequences. I don't want Mito crying every day because you got yourself killed. Understand?" Jian murmured softly with his head lowered, unclear whether he truly understood or was just going through the motions. Before the hunter exam, Jian would never have submitted to Leo. After all, in Jian's eyes, Mito was like his own mother, and Leo was the man who took her. No kid likes their stepfather. However, after spending time with Leo, Jian had come to admire him deeply. Though he still resented Leo for taking Mito, it was no longer unbearable. Leo, for his part, didn't care what Jian thought, as long as the boy stayed alive and whole. Then Leo glanced at Panzu and saw her number plate still hanging from her. He looked at Jian and said, "Jian, she's your target. It's your prey, you handle it. I won't interfere." With that, Leo left the cave, under the watchful eyes of both Jian and Panzu. As soon as Leo was gone, Jian lifted his head with a mischievous grin and stuck out his tongue toward the cave's exit. Clearly, he hadn't taken Leo's lecture to heart. In Jian's world, no one could make him behave except Aunt Mito. He lived by his own heart, even if it meant dying, he'd have no regrets. Turning to Panzu, Jian grinned. "All right, Panzu, I'm going to start stealing your number plate." With Leo gone, Panzu regained her confident smirk and raised her head with disdain. "Little brat, you think you can steal from me?" As she spoke, a swarm of poisonous bees flew out from her hat. Their buzzing echoed through the cave. A battle was about to begin. Leo didn't care about what came next in the cave. Even if Jian lost, it wouldn't be a bad thing, it would teach him despair. After all, Jian wouldn't die, and Leo was close by. As long as Panzu wasn't an idiot, she wouldn't actually kill him. Outside the cave, Leo fiddled with two number plates in his hands. One was number 371, the other number 103. The former belonged to the guy Leo shot in the head, the latter was the snake charmer. Unfortunately, because Hisaka might have escaped, Leo never got his number 44 plate. He'd need to find another. Who knew which poor soul would cross his path next? Just as Leo was about to resume searching for Hisaka and snag a number plate along the way, he noticed something hanging from a tree nearby. A piece of paper and a number plate, number 44, Hisaka's. Leo frowned, heightened his focus, and scanned the surroundings with Gyo. No trace of Hisaka's aura. Cautiously, he summoned a sword into his hand. The knight does not die bare-handed, active. Leo approached the tree with caution and read the note. My lovely Leo. The opening line, and its disturbingly familiar, flamboyant tone, made Leo frown. By the time you read this, I've long since left the uninhabited island. Forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye, I simply can't beat you. The duel with you was so exhilarating, I nearly ascended to heaven. Literally. So, I've decided, from this day on, you'll be my favorite prey in the world. I'll watch you. I'll stalk you. The moment you show a flaw, I'll take your head. What choice do I have? I can't beat you fair and square, so I'll have to sneak up on you. Oh. Seeing the emoticon, Leo raised an eyebrow. Was Hisaka really this jobless? So, my dearest Leo. Come find me. Fear me. Despair. And come kill me. Yours always, Hisaka. After reading it, Leo touched the note with his palm. A surge of aura disintegrated the paper to dust. He looked up at the brilliant sky, expressionless. Then, his killing intent erupted. Fueled by the power of the knight does not die bare-handed, his aura turned pitch black. From that point outward, the trees of the forest began to wither and die. Across the island, all remaining test participants froze in terror, unable to move. Hisaka. At that moment, Leo was furious, truly furious. Not because he feared Hisaka, or worried about being ambushed. But because Hisaka didn't follow the rules. If Hisaka discovered Mito's identity and chose to target her, then Leo could never forgive himself. He couldn't accept Mito being harmed because of him. Thinking of that, Leo clenched his fists so tightly, his hands began to bleed without him noticing. Illumi. Zoldyck family. In that moment, Leo's hatred turned toward the Zoldyck family. If Illumi hadn't rescued Hisaka without permission, none of this would have happened. Before, Leo merely intended to teach the Zoldycks a lesson one day. Now he truly wanted to annihilate them. System, do you have a way to locate Hisaka? Chapter 48. The system didn't respond to Leo's inquiry. His system was nothing more than a cold, mechanical sign-in tool. Its sole purpose was to grant Leo a powerful move once per week. Beyond that, it had no additional functions. Leo exhaled slowly and released the surging aura. Immediately, everyone on the uninhabited island gasped involuntarily. They wiped cold sweat from their foreheads, turned toward the source of the murderous aura in fear, and swallowed hard. What terrifying killing intent! Is that Hisaka's bloodlust? No, we felt Hisaka's aura a few days ago. This is definitely different. Could it be Leo's? Everyone quickly concluded it must be. Among all the test participants, only Leo could rival or even surpass Hisaka. With that realization, the temperature seemed to drop even further. They had once thought Leo wouldn't kill indiscriminately. Now, they weren't so sure. Luckily, there was only one day left in the phase. If they stayed careful, they might avoid running into either of those two monsters, Leo and Hisaka. Meanwhile, Kurapika and Leorio were running toward Leo. They'd also sensed his murderous aura, but instead of being frightened, they believed Leo needed help. To them, when a friend is in trouble, you step up without hesitation. That was a principle both men lived by. When Gon came running out of the cave, face swollen, Kurapika and Leorio arrived shortly after. They saw Leo leaning against a large tree and walked toward him without hesitation. "Leo, what happened just now? Why did your aura turn so terrifying?" Gon looked up, his puffed face making his voice slightly slurred. "Yeah. If you've run into something you can't handle, just say so. We'll help however we can." Kurapika and Leorio nodded in unison, worry on their faces. They knew Leo was immensely strong, almost godlike, but he was still human. And every human has moments of sorrow, frustration, and helplessness. Seeing them truly concerned for him, Leo smiled faintly and shook his head. "It's nothing. Just a small setback," Hisoka escaped. He sighed slightly. "I originally planned to finish Hisoka off on this island, but I didn't expect him to escape. It's going to be a lot harder to find him now." Hearing that, their expressions became clearer. Hisoka had made Leo a personal target, and their grudge had long since escalated to a life or death level. Now that Hisoka had slipped away, it was understandable for Leo to be upset. Kurapika nodded, comforting him. "It's okay. We didn't kill Hisoka this time, but we'll definitely get another chance. Once we're hunters, we'll have access to the association's intel. That'll make tracking him much easier." "Exactly. And that pervert Hisoka already lost to you once. You can beat him again. If he shows up in front of me, I'll cut him into pieces." Leorio was indignant, clearly disgusted by Hisoka more than anyone. Of those present, Leorio had the strongest sense of justice. With his friend's comfort, Leo felt a strange but pleasant shift. He was usually the one helping them. Now they were comforting him. It felt good. In a much better mood, Leo suppressed the murderous intent in his heart. Next time he saw Hisoka, he'd show him true cruelty. "By the way, how's your number plate collection going?" Kurapika pulled out his own and glanced around. "Leorio and I have both gotten our target's plates." Leorio's was won through a joint effort, and Kurapika had received his from Killua. Though he and Killua weren't particularly close, they were still teammates. Receiving a number from a companion wasn't charity, it was cooperation. Kurapika accepted it. Gon touched his swollen cheek and grinned. "I just got mine too." Though Ponzu could control venomous bees, her physical strength was quite poor. As long as Gon braved the bees and got close, he could win easily. Despite being 12, Gon's strength, speed, and explosive power far exceeded that of adults. Defeating a petite girl like Ponzu wasn't difficult. Leo then revealed 3 number plates. One of them was number 44, Hisoka's. Clearly, even Hisoka acknowledged his defeat to Leo. Before fleeing, he must have given the plate and letter to Illumi, asking him to pass them on secretly. "My score is fine, I even have 2 extra." Leo tossed the 2 excess plates into the sky. They vanished instantly. Seeing that, Gon and the others blinked in confusion. "Leo, what are you doing? Even if they're extra, it's good to keep them." Every number plate collected meant one less opponent could reach 3 points. That would reduce competition significantly. Leo smiled and shook his head. "You have to give others a chance. If someone finds these 2, it means they're lucky. And to be an excellent hunter, luck is absolutely essential." Leo knew this better than anyone. The only reason he was here at all was incredible luck. He had been lucky to arrive in the world of Hunter x Hunter. And even luckier to receive the God-level ultimate move system. Since fate had favored him so much, Leo figured he should pass some of that luck along. Of course, if no one picked up those plates, it meant their luck was too poor. Compared to novel protagonists always fighting fate, Leo felt that fate had treated him just fine. Hearing that, Kurapika and Leorio looked at him in admiration. Humans are naturally selfish. Someone like Leo, who would willingly give others a chance to succeed. That kind of selflessness and perfection was rare. Ignoring their impressed gazes, Leo ruffled Gon's spiky head. So, what will you guys do now? Stick with me until the test ends, or split up? Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio exchanged glances, then nodded. We'll stick with you. Kurapika added. Tomorrow, the remaining participants who haven't gathered enough points will definitely form teams to hunt. Though we're not afraid, it's the last day, there's no need to waste energy. Besides, there's one more stage in the exam, and it might be the hardest. We should conserve our strength for that. Leorio nodded in agreement. Only Gon looked puzzled at Kurapika, as if to say, you actually thought all that? Seeing the doubt in Gon's expression, Kurapika lowered his head and asked, Gon, what do you think? Gon touched his puffed-up cheek and smiled awkwardly. Well, I saw Leo was in a bad mood. So I thought I'd stay with him. Isn't that what you'd do? Clearly, after spending time together, Gon had accepted Leo's relationship with Mito. Since Leo was Mito's man, his family, Gon's way of thinking was different from the others. Hearing that, Leo burst out laughing. Ha ha ha. Gon, you finally admit I'm your uncle. Not bad, not bad. I'm sure Mito will be thrilled to hear it. Thinking of Mito's warm smile, Gon nodded and smiled brightly. Chapter 49. January 18, 1999, the 19th day of sign-in, marked the last day of the fourth stage of the Hunter exam. As the new day began, the sun rose above the sea horizon. Leo completed his morning training and checked his personal attribute panel. Host, Leo. Age, 26. Total Nen, 3,242. 4,558 Nen. Category, Specialist Nen. Abilities, The Knight Does Not Die Barehanded, 1,000, Shinra Tensei, 500, Getsuga Tensho, Bankai version, 10,000. Seeing that his total Nen had surpassed 4,500, Leo wiped the sweat from his brow in satisfaction. Sure enough, real combat is the best way to increase Nen. At dawn on the 13th, Leo's Nen total was 3,242. Now, on the 18th, in just 5 days, it had increased by 1,316, an average of 263 per day. If this pace continued, Leo could break 100,000 in a year. However, Leo knew that would be difficult. With regular training, he calculated an average gain of 170 Nen per day. So why had it spiked recently? Simple, the fight with Hisoka. Although Leo utterly crushed and crippled Hisoka, he hadn't let his guard down for a second. Hisoka was a master of exploiting gaps, striking with fatal precision. Leo had to maintain razor-sharp focus the entire time. That kind of life-on-the-line tension unlocked Leo's full potential, resulting in a dramatic boost in Nen. Going forward, Leo expected things to calm down and would rely on training again to grow stronger. Still, he wasn't worried. If he wanted to boost his Nen quickly, he could complete system missions. He still remembered one serial quest. Upon becoming a licensed hunter, the system would reward him with 10,000 Nen. Subsequent tasks would unlock only after completing this one. Thankfully, his system wasn't cruel, there were no punishments for ignoring tasks. Those complete or die systems were outdated anyway. There are still 3 days before the next sign-in. I hope the next reward lets me track Hisoka. Wu tilde. Suddenly, a loud horn echoed across the island. Everyone instinctively turned toward the sound. A man's voice rang out through loudspeakers. Hunter exam, the 4th phase is officially over. Please return to the starting point within 1 hour. Those who fail to return will be disqualified. Note, within a 100-meter radius of the starting point, no combat, theft, or trading of number plates is allowed. Upon arrival, Hand in your number plates immediately. Violators will be instantly disqualified. Upon hearing this, many eyes lit up. No fighting within 100 meters? So it's allowed outside that range? The implication was clear. Without delay, numerous participants who hadn't earned enough points rushed toward the starting point. They were hoping to ambush and steal plates near the boundary. A chaotic clash was inevitable. Meanwhile, the Hunter Association's airship had already landed at the starting point. Netero, Menki, Satots, Buara, and other examiners were calmly enjoying breakfast. Sipping tea, Netero squinted and chuckled. I wonder how many will pass this stage. There are quite a few promising candidates this year. I'm honestly looking forward to it. The final stage of the Hunter exam would be presided over by Netero himself. And the thought of testing Leo made Netero smile even wider. Menki slowly stirred her milk, eyes distant and unfocused. Despite Netero speaking, she showed no reaction. Her expression flickered between confusion, a soft smile, and hesitance. Watching this, Netero raised an eyebrow and grinned mischievously. Little Menki, are you daydreaming about a boyfriend? Hearing her name, Menki snapped out of it, face turning crimson as she waved her hands in denial. No, Chairman, don't talk nonsense. I don't like anyone. Seeing her flustered, Netero gave a knowing smile. Oh? Then what do you think of Leo? He's about your age, as handsome as I was in my youth. And incredibly strong. Even I admit that at his age, I couldn't beat him. Isn't that attractive, Menki? At that, Satots, Buara, and the others all turned toward her with amused expressions. Indeed, Menki's behavior had changed recently. Normally, she was lively, hot-tempered, and confident. But lately, she had been spaced out, hesitant, and visibly troubled. Given her prior clash with Leo, a shared assumption began to form. Could Menki actually like Leo? The more they considered it, the more plausible it seemed. Menki was a prodigy, a child of destiny. At 21, she had already become a one-star hunter, a title given only to hunters who've achieved great accomplishments in a specific field. Such recognition was rare, even among all hunters. Because of this, Menki had led a smooth, setback-free life. Until now. Leo was the first person to truly defeat and humble her. Her pride had been broken, and sometimes, that's the seed of admiration. It was natural to be drawn to strength. And if that strength came with good looks, even better. Everyone smiled teasingly at her, which made Menki panic. She waved frantically. Stop with the nonsense. I just want revenge on Leo, that's all. That jerk humiliated me, I'm going to get even. Definitely. She kept insisting, convincing herself more than anyone else. She would never admit she'd started paying attention to Leo, trying to understand him better. Too embarrassing. Seeing her flustered denial, Netero and the others chuckled, but dropped the teasing. Love was personal, outsiders shouldn't interfere. Satots calmly cut a piece of steak, chewed, and swallowed before glancing at Netero. By the way, Chairman, what kind of test will you give in the final stage? Everyone looked toward Netero. He stroked his white beard and smiled. That depends on how many pass this stage. I've prepared multiple formats, different plans for large and small groups. He squinted out the window. The first tester is here. Outside the airship. The first to arrive at the starting point was the bald ninja, Hanzo. He looked around the empty beach, seeing only the airship. Overjoyed, he cheered. Yes. I'm the first. Despite being a ninja, and thus supposedly stoic, Hanzo was quite the chatterbox and show-off. Oddly charming. Soon, a staff member disembarked, collected Hanzo's number plate, and recorded it. The second to arrive was a man with needles embedded in his face. Illumi Zoldyck. Behind him, several test participants lay motionless, needles piercing their faces, bodies twitching before going still. Clearly, those who tried to attack Illumi were dead. Seeing this, Hanzo's smile vanished. He stared solemnly at Illumi. His instincts, sharpened from years of dealing with death, screamed that this man was extremely dangerous. On par with Hisoka, perhaps. Next came Killua. With his skill, he'd broken through enemy lines effortlessly. When Leo arrived with Gon and the others, the remaining desperate testers backed away and vanished. They wanted to be hunters, but not at the cost of their lives. No one in their right mind would provoke Leo. Killua. Long time no see. As soon as they reached the starting point, Gon's eyes lit up. He ran up eagerly to greet his friend. The two boys began chatting energetically, recounting all their recent adventures. Meanwhile, Leo kept his eyes locked on the needle-faced man. Feeling the pressure, Illumi sighed inwardly. Great. I've been noticed by that monster again. Illumi had no intention of fighting Leo. Facing someone like him would require the entire Zoldyck family. Alone? It would be suicide. Chapter 50. Leo looked at Illumi with cold eyes and gently clenched his fist. Although he didn't say anything, that gaze made Illumi panic inwardly. Still, he maintained his usual calm appearance. Of course, with his face covered in needles and disguised as someone else, his expressions were unreadable. No matter how uneasy he felt, no one could tell. Then, screams echoed from the forest behind. The remaining test takers were locked in last-minute battles for number plates as the assessment time neared its end. 3 figures emerged from the forest. One was number 53, Badoro, the martial artist who was once devoured by the queen ant in the original timeline. Another was number 384, a dark-skinned man who bore a striking resemblance to the unlucky contestant decapitated by Hisoka in the original story. This time, he'd been lucky enough to gather 6 points. And the last was number 246, Ponzu. Seeing Ponzu step forward, Leo, Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio were all shocked. Gon even widened his eyes, stepped up to her, and asked in disbelief. How did you get 6 points? Didn't I take your number plate? Seeing Gon standing there, Ponzu covered her still reddened face and glared at him. You little brat, you've got a lot of nerve to bring that up. You hit me right in the face, and while I was protecting it, you knocked me out and stole my number plate. The more Ponzu talked, the angrier she became. To a girl, her face is practically sacred. But Gon, clueless as ever, had punched her straight in the face the moment he got close. To avoid being disfigured, Ponzu had shielded her face, leaving herself open to being knocked out. Then, she raised her chin proudly. But just because you stole my plate doesn't mean I'm helpless. I marked both my plate and the snake charmers. No matter how far they go, I can find them. After you left, I tracked down the snake charmer's plate, he was my designated target. And there was another plate nearby. I just needed to collect 2 more. Bees can travel kilometers away and return home with perfect accuracy. Especially the trained venomous bees Ponzu controlled, their tracking range was even greater. Once they locked onto a scent, they could cover the entire uninhabited island. Now, Ponzu turned to Leo, her tone cautious but grateful. Leo, thank you. Even if you didn't mean to help, I picked up the number plates you threw away. If you ever need something from me, just ask. I'll do everything I can. Normally, Ponzu wouldn't say such a thing. After all, she found the plates on her own, they were hers now. But she knew well they originally belonged to Leo. If he didn't explicitly say they were discarded, she feared he'd be angry, and kill her. Looking at her petite, innocent face, Leo was about to wave it off, but then he paused, eyes lingering on her thoughtfully. Being stared at like that made Ponzu bite her lip, but not in discomfort. Unlike creepy men she'd encountered before, Leo's gaze was pure and calm. Ponzu, right? Do you remember Hisoka? Ponzu froze. Remembering Hisoka's twisted smile and terrifying aura, She nodded quickly, fear still in her eyes. I remember. Why? Can you track him? Leo's gaze sharpened as he asked. Feeling the intensity in his stare, Panzu hesitated, then nodded. Yes. My bees remember Hisaka's scent. No matter how well he hides it, I can find him within a 10-kilometer radius. Bees don't track with radar or ordinary scent, they use pheromones, a hormone secreted constantly by all living things. Even Zetsu can't mask pheromones. Zetsu may block normal scent and aura, but pheromones are a biological signal, something Zetsu can't conceal. Panzu then shook her head. But Hisaka left the island days ago. Unless he returns, I can't find him again. Hearing that, Leo's eyes lit up with delight. Excellent. That's all I need to know. He smiled broadly. For days, Leo had pondered how to find Hisaka, and now, he had a lead. He stepped in front of Panzu, his expression suddenly serious. From now on, I want you to help me track Hisaka to the best of your ability. And in return, after we're done, I'll grant you one request. Anything. If you dare to ask it, I'll dare to do it. Startled, Panzu waved her hands quickly. No need. I'll help you, really. You don't have to promise me anything. Leo nodded, saying no more. In the future, if she found Hisaka, he'd give her anything she wanted. Wealth, power. In a world ruled by Nen, the strong can have anything. Elsewhere, Illumi perked up slightly, smiling inwardly. Hisaka, looks like you've got big trouble coming. Even if Panzu couldn't find him again, Leo would now search the world for Hisaka. Just imagining Hisaka being hunted globally made Illumi want to laugh. After all, he and Hisaka weren't true partners, it was strictly business. If Hisaka got into trouble, Illumi would definitely enjoy it. Still, I should reach out to Hisaka later. If he pays enough, I might sell him intel on this girl, Panzu. To Illumi, there were only two things of value in the world. First, his little brother Killua. Second, money. If the price was right, he'd even consider killing Netero, the chairman of the Hunter Association. When the time for the fourth test ended. At the starting point, 10 contestants had successfully gathered 6 points. Leo, Gon, Killua, Kurapika, Leorio, Illumi, Panzu, Badoro, Hanzo, and the dark-skinned man. Netero descended from the airship, smiling as he stroked his beard. Not bad, not bad. 10 made it. Looks like the final round will be lively. He then sighed. Too bad. Hisaka withdrew. If he'd stayed, it would have been even more exciting. He cast a glance at Leo, curious to see his reaction. But Leo only smiled politely. Of course, had Hisaka shown up, Leo would have killed him immediately, even if it meant forfeiting the Hunter title or crossing Netero. Seeing no response, Netero smacked his lips in disappointment and said, "All right then. Follow me to the airship. We're headed to the final exam site." Without hesitation, he turned and left. Everyone quickly followed. As for the remaining participants, they were taken off the island via other Hunter Association transports. Aboard the airship, Netero gathered the group and smiled at their curious expressions. Before we reach the final exam location, each of you will have a one-on-one interview with me. This interview may very well determine whether you become a licensed hunter. Take it seriously. Now, everyone except Leo, please leave for now. You'll be called over the loudspeaker when it's your turn.